My best friend told me I was too involved with her kids, so I stopped showing up completely. Fiona and I had been friends since middle school. When she had twins 6 years ago, I became their honorary aunt. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'd pick them up from school, help with homework, take them to the park. I was there for birthday parties, doctor appointments when Fiona couldn't leave work, and late-night emergencies when one of them spiked a fever. I thought I was being helpful, supportive, the kind of friend who shows up. Then last month, Fiona invited me to coffee. She had that tight smile people get when they're about to say something terrible. "Listen," she started, stirring her latte for the third time. "I really appreciate everything you do for the twins, but you're becoming too involved. They call you when they're scared instead of me. Last week, Theo asked if you could come to career day instead of me." My stomach dropped. "I was just trying to help while you're busy with work." "That's the problem," she said. "You're acting more like their mother than their aunt. I need you to take a step back." I felt like I'd been slapped, but I nodded, paid for my coffee, and left. That was 4 weeks ago. I haven't called, haven't texted, haven't shown up at their school or driven past their house. Complete radio silence. The first week was hard. The twins' faces kept appearing in my mind, but Fiona wanted space, so I gave her space. Week 2, my mom asked why I hadn't mentioned the twins lately. I told her I was giving Fiona time to be their mother. She looked at me strangely but didn't push. Last night, Fiona's husband Garrett called me at 11 p.m. His voice was shaking. "We need you," he said. "Fiona's in the hospital. It's serious. The twins are asking for you and I don't know what to tell them anymore." "What happened?" I asked, already grabbing my keys. "She collapsed at work 3 days ago. They found a mass. We're waiting on biopsy results, but the doctors aren't optimistic." His voice cracked. "I need help with the kids and she's asking for you now." I drove to the hospital, my hands shaking on the wheel. When I walked into her room, Fiona looked so small in that bed. She reached for my hand immediately. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I was jealous. "The twins loved you so much and I felt like I was failing as their mother because I couldn't be there like you were." Tears streamed down her face. I pushed away the one person who actually cared. I held her hand tighter, told her we'd figure this out together. The next morning, the doctor called us into a private conference room. Garrett gripped Fiona's wheelchair handles. I stood beside them because that's where I belonged. The doctor's face told us everything before he spoke. "The biopsy results show stage 4 pancreatic cancer. It's aggressive and has already metastasized. We're looking at weeks, maybe 2 months with treatment." Fiona didn't cry. She just stared at the wall. Finally, she turned to me. "Will you take them? When I'm gone? Not Garrett's parents? Not my sister? You? They need someone who actually knows them." Garrett started to protest, but Fiona cut him off. "My parents are too old. Your mother criticized how I raised them since day one. My sister has 3 kids and barely manages. It has to be her." Before I could answer, a nurse burst into the room. "We need you back now. There's been a complication." They rushed Fiona back. Machines started beeping urgently. Doctors swarmed in. Garrett and I were pushed into the hallway where we could only watch through the window. A doctor emerged 20 minutes later, his face grim. Her blood pressure dropped severely. "We've stabilized her for now, but you should prepare yourselves. If there's anyone who needs to say goodbye, now would be the time." I thought about the twins at school completely unaware, about the promise Fiona had just asked me to make, about whether I was ready to become a mother overnight. Then Garrett grabbed my arm, his eyes wild. "There's something Fiona never told you," he said. "Something about why she really pushed you away. And you need to know before—" The machines in Fiona's room started screaming. Nurses flooded the doorway. A doctor shouted orders I couldn't understand. Garrett's hand fell from my arm as he rushed toward the window. I stood frozen in the hallway, his unfinished sentence hanging in the air between us like smoke. The flatline sound pierced through everything else. That long, unbroken tone that means a heart has stopped doing what it was designed to do. I'd heard it in movies. Never thought I'd hear it for someone I loved. Garrett pressed both palms against the glass. His whole body shook. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what was happening. The medical team worked on her for 7 minutes. I know because I stared at the clock above the nurse's station, watching the second hand circle while my best friend died 20 feet away. When the doctor finally stepped back from Fiona's bed, his shoulders sagged in a way that said everything. Garrett made a sound I'd never heard a human make before, somewhere between a scream and a sob. A nurse came out and touched his shoulder gently. "I'm so sorry. We did everything we could." I found my voice. "Can we see her?" She nodded. "Take your time." We walked into the room together. The machines were silent now. Fiona looked peaceful. That's what people always say, isn't it? She looked peaceful, like she was sleeping. But she wasn't sleeping. Her chest wasn't moving. Her hand was already starting to feel cool when I picked it up. Garrett collapsed into the chair beside her bed, buried his face in her sheets, and wept. I stood there holding her hand, unable to cry. In shock, probably. My mind kept circling back to what Garrett had started to say in the hallway. Something Fiona never told me. Something about why she really pushed me away. After 15 minutes, I cleared my throat. "Garrett." He didn't look up. "What were you going to tell me?" Before she... I couldn't finish the sentence. He lifted his head slowly. His face was blotchy and wet. "Not here. Not now. The twins will be out of school in 3 hours," I said. My voice sounded strange, mechanical. "We need to figure out what to tell them." That got him moving. He stood up, kissed Fiona's forehead one last time, and walked out of the room without looking back at me. I followed him into the hallway. "Garrett." He kept walking. "Garrett, stop." He spun around in the middle of the corridor. "My wife just died, and you want to interrogate me about secrets? Your wife just asked me to raise her children." I shot back. "I think I deserve to know the truth." His face crumpled. For a moment, I thought he was going to break down again. Instead, he took 3 deep breaths and wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "The hospital cafeteria. 20 minutes. I need to make some calls first." Then he was gone, disappearing into the elevator before I could respond. I went back into Fiona's room, sat in the chair Garrett had vacated, held her hand until a nurse came to tell me they needed to move her. The cafeteria was nearly empty at 10:30 a.m., just a few scattered healthcare workers grabbing coffee between shifts. I bought a cup I wouldn't drink and sat at a table by the window. Garrett showed up exactly 20 minutes later. He had 2 coffees and a protein bar. He slid one coffee across to me and sat down heavily. "My mom is calling the school," he said. Making an excuse to keep the twins there until we can figure out how to tell them. I nodded. He stared at his coffee. Didn't drink it. You need to understand something about Fiona. She had severe postpartum depression after the twins were born. I know that, I said. I was there. I helped. You helped so much that she felt like she wasn't needed. He looked up at me. She told me once that coming home from work and seeing you with the twins, seeing how happy they were with you, made her want to drive off a bridge. The words hit me like a physical blow. She felt like the worst mother in the world, he continued. Her therapist told her she needed to bond with the kids without interference. That's why she asked you to step back. But that's not the secret, I said quietly. That's not what you were going to tell me. Garrett's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then turned the screen toward me. It was a paternity test result. I stared at the words on the screen, my brain refusing to process what I was seeing. Theo isn't mine, Garrett said flatly. Fiona had an affair during our rough patch when she was pregnant. She didn't know which one of the twins was from the affair until they were 2 years old, and I demanded a paternity test because Theo didn't look anything like me. I set down my coffee before I could drop it. Does Theo know? No, and Lily doesn't know either. Fiona wanted it that way. He pulled the phone back and turned it off. The biological father wanted nothing to do with us. Signed away all rights. I agreed to raise both kids as my own and never tell anyone. Then why tell me now? Because Fiona made me promise that if anything happened to her, you would know the truth before you took them. His voice cracked. She said you deserved to know what you were signing up for. I sat back in my chair. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed softly. Somewhere in the cafeteria, a metal tray clattered against the floor. Who's the father? I asked. Garrett's face went pale. That's not, I don't think. Who is it, Garrett? He closed his eyes. Your brother. The room tilted. My brother, Dylan. Dylan, who lived in Seattle. Dylan, who'd visited for 2 weeks right around the time Fiona would have gotten pregnant. Dylan, who'd never mentioned staying in touch with my best friend. That's impossible, I heard myself say. I wish it was. Garrett opened his eyes. I found the messages on her old phone. It was a one-time thing when they ran into each other at that wine bar downtown. She was devastated about our marriage falling apart, and he was lonely after his divorce, and it just happened. I thought I might throw up. Does Dylan know? I managed. Fiona never told him. She cut off all contact after she found out she was pregnant. She couldn't risk it. My hands were shaking. I gripped the edge of the table to steady them. So Theo is my nephew, I said slowly. My biological nephew. Yes. And you want me to take custody of him without ever telling him? Garrett's face was anguished. That's what Fiona wanted. She made me swear. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. Several people turned to look. I didn't care. I need air. Wait. But I was already walking. Out of the cafeteria. Through the main lobby. Into the parking lot where the morning sun felt too bright and the air felt too thin. I called my brother. He answered on the third ring. Hey, what's up? Isn't it like 10:30 a.m. there? Were you in a relationship with Fiona? I asked without preamble. Silence. Dylan. What? No. Why would you? Don't lie to me. Not right now. More silence. Then a heavy sigh. How did you find out? It doesn't matter. Did you know she had kids? Yeah, of course. You talked about them all the time. His voice was cautious. Why are you asking me this? One of them is yours. I heard something crash in the background. What? Theo. He's your son. That's... No, I would have known. She would have told me. She didn't tell you. She cut you off and she married Garrett and she raised your son as his. Dylan was breathing hard. I need to sit down. Well, you might want to stay seated because there's more. I kept my voice flat, emotionless. If I let any feeling in, I'd shatter. Fiona died an hour ago. Pancreatic cancer. And before she died, she asked me to take custody of both twins. Holy shit. Yeah, I need to process this. Can I call you back? School gets out in 2 hours. Garrett and I have to tell 2 6-year-olds that their mother is dead. So no, you can't call me back. You can drive to the airport and get on a plane because your son just lost the only mother he's ever known. I hung up before he could respond. My phone immediately started ringing. Dylan calling back. I declined the call. He tried again. I turned off my phone. Garrett found me sitting on the curb 20 minutes later. We need to go to the school, he said quietly. I stood up. Yeah. Did you call your brother? He's coming. Garrett nodded. We walked to our cars in silence. The drive to Pine Grove Elementary took 12 minutes. I'd made this drive hundreds of times to pick up the twins. Now I was driving there to destroy their world. Garrett's mom was waiting in the front office. She was a small woman with sharp features and expensive jewelry. She'd never liked me. Thought I was too involved in her son's family. When she saw me walk in with Garrett, her expression soured. Why is she here? She asked Garrett. Because Fiona asked her to be here, he said tiredly. His mom's lips pressed into a thin line. I don't think this is appropriate. The children should hear this from family. I am family, I said before I could stop myself. She looked at me like I'd said something obscene. The principal, Mrs. Holloway, intervened. Perhaps we should focus on the children right now. They're waiting in my office. She led us down a hallway decorated with construction paper flowers and crayon drawings. The twins' artwork was on the wall. Lily had drawn a family portrait with stick figures. Theo had drawn a dinosaur eating a smaller dinosaur. Mrs. Holloway opened her office door. Theo and Lily were sitting on a small couch, looking confused and a little scared. They were wearing matching backpacks and holding juice boxes the school must have given them. When Lily saw me, her face lit up. Aunt June! She launched herself off the couch and ran to me. I caught her and held her tight, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo and playground dirt. Theo followed more slowly. He was the quieter twin, more observant. He looked from me to Garrett, to his grandmother, and I could see him calculating that something was very wrong. Where's Mom? He asked. Garrett knelt down in front of them. I felt Lily tense in my arms. Something happened, Garrett said. His voice broke. Your mom was very sick. You knew that, right? That's why she was in the hospital. Both twins nodded. The doctors tried really hard to help her, but sometimes people are too sick for even the best doctors to fix. He was crying now. Your mom died this morning. Lily didn't understand at first. When is she coming back? She's not coming back, sweetie. That's when Lily started screaming. Not crying. Screaming. A high-pitched wail that made my heart stop. She fought against me, trying to get away, trying to run somewhere. anywhere that wasn't this room where her father just told her the worst news she'd ever hear. Theo stood perfectly still. He didn't cry, didn't scream, just stared at his father with those two old eyes. Where did she go? He asked quietly. Heaven, Garrett's mom interjected. She's in heaven now with the angels. That's not real, Theo said. His voice was flat, empty. Dead means she's gone forever. Garrett reached for him, but Theo stepped back. Don't touch me. Lily had gone from screaming to sobbing, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. I carried her to the couch and sat down, holding her in my lap while she cried into my shoulder. Garrett tried again to hug Theo. This time Theo let him, but he didn't hug back. He just stood there like a doll while his father fell apart. We stayed in that office for an hour. Mrs. Holloway called a grief counselor from the district. Garrett's mom called someone from her church. People kept trying to say the right thing, but there was no right thing to say. Eventually, we had to leave, take the twins home, figure out how to get through the next hour, and then the next one after that. Garrett's mom insisted the twins should stay with her and Garrett. I started to argue, then realized this wasn't the time. The twins needed stability, familiar surroundings, whatever adults could manage not to completely fall apart. I'll come by tomorrow, I told Garrett. He nodded. He looked hollowed out, like someone had scooped out everything inside him and left just the shell. Lily wouldn't let go of me. It took both Garrett and his mom to pry her away. She cried the whole time, reaching for me, begging me not to leave. I'll see you tomorrow, I promised her. I promised Lily. I'll be there tomorrow. Theo watched this whole scene without expression. When Garrett's mom took his hand, he followed her docilely toward the car. Right before getting in, he turned back and looked at me. You're not coming back, he said. Not a question, a statement. I am, I said firmly. I promise you, Theo, I'm not going anywhere. He studied me for a long moment, then got in the car without responding. I drove home in a daze. My apartment felt wrong, too quiet, too empty. I'd spent so much time at Fiona's house with the twins that my own place felt like a hotel room. My phone had 37 missed calls. Dylan had called 15 times. My mom had called 9 times. Various mutual friends of Fiona's had called the rest. I returned my mom's call first. June, oh my God, honey, I just heard. Garrett's mom called me. She was crying. I'm so sorry. I know how close you were to Fiona. Yeah, do you want me to come over? I can be there in an hour. No, I need to be alone right now. Are you sure? You shouldn't be alone. I'm sure, Mom. I'll call you later. I hung up before she could argue. Then I called Dylan back. Jesus Christ, June, I've been trying to reach you for hours. I was dealing with your son finding out his mother died. Is he okay? I almost laughed. No, Dylan, he's not okay. Neither of them are okay. Their mother just died. I'm booking a flight right now. I can be there by tonight. Don't. What? Don't come tonight. Give me a day to figure out what the hell is happening. Then come. June, one day. That's all I'm asking. He was quiet for a long moment. Okay, one day. But I'm coming Wednesday morning whether you want me to or not. Fine. I hung up and turned off my phone again. The rest of Tuesday passed in a blur. I sat on my couch, stared at the wall, tried to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. My best friend was dead. I was supposed to raise her children, one of whom was my brother's biological son, and nobody could ever know. I didn't sleep that night, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching the shadows shift as cars passed outside. Wednesday morning came too fast. I showered, dressed in black, and drove to Garrett's house at 8 a.m. His mom answered the door. She'd aged overnight. Her carefully maintained appearance was disheveled, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. They're still sleeping, she said, or pretending to sleep. I don't think either of them actually slept. Can I go up? She hesitated, then nodded. Lily's been asking for you since she woke up. I climbed the stairs to the twins' rooms. The house was too quiet. Usually when I visited, there was noise. Cartoons playing, kids laughing, Fiona calling from the kitchen asking if anyone wanted snacks. Now, there was nothing. I knocked softly on Lily's door. It's Aunt June. I heard movement. Then the door opened. Lily stood there in her pajamas, eyes red and swollen. Without a word, she wrapped her arms around my waist and held on like I might disappear. I'm here, I said softly. I told you I'd come back. We stood like that for a while. Then she pulled back and looked up at me. Is Mom really dead? Yes. Forever? Yes, baby. Forever. Her face crumpled. I want her back. I know. I want that too. Can you make her come back? I knelt down so we were at eye level. I wish I could, but I can't. Nobody can. Then what am I supposed to do? Her voice was so small. You're supposed to let the people who love you help you get through this. One day at a time. Will you stay with me? As long as you need me to. I heard a door open behind me. Theo emerged from his room. He looked even worse than Lily. Dark circles under his eyes. Skin pale. He'd lost something in the last 24 hours. Some essential piece of childhood innocence. Hi, Theo, I said gently. He looked at me with those flat, empty eyes. You came back. I told you I would. Mom told me she'd be back too. People lie. The accusation stung, but I understood it. You're right. Sometimes people do lie. But I'm going to try very hard to never lie to you. And that means when I promise something, I'll do everything in my power to keep that promise. Even if it's hard, especially if it's hard. He thought about this, then nodded once and retreated back into his room, closing the door behind him. Garrett appeared at the top of the stairs. He looked even worse than the kids. My mom made breakfast. Nobody's eating, but it's there if you want it. We went downstairs. His mom had made enough food for 10 people. Eggs, bacon, pancakes, fruit, toast. All of it sitting cold on the counter. I poured myself coffee. Garrett did the same. We sat at the kitchen table while his mom busied herself cleaning things that didn't need to be cleaned. I called the funeral home, Garrett said. They want to know about arrangements. What did Fiona want? We never talked about it. She was 32 years old. Who plans their funeral at 32? Smart people who get terminal diagnoses, I said. Garrett laughed. It was a broken, awful sound. She had 6 months of knowing she was dying, and she spent it pushing away the one person who could actually help her kids through this. She was scared. She was selfish. His mom gasped. Garrett. It's true, and you know it, Mom. She was so worried about the twins loving June more than her that she destroyed the one support system they had. And now they have to deal with losing their mother without the one person who knows them best. They have you, I pointed out. I work 60 hours a week. I don't know their teachers' names or their favorite foods or which stuffed animals they sleep with. Fiona knew all that. You knew all that. I don't know my own children. The guilt in his voice was crushing. You'll learn, I said. Will I? Or will I do what my parents did and outsource the actual parenting to nannies in schools while I hide behind work? His mom slammed down the dish she'd been washing. That's not fair, Garrett. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked me about my life instead of critiquing my choices? I'm here right now helping you because Fiona died. You weren't here for the last 6 years. You criticized everything Fiona did, made her feel like a failure, and the one person who never made her feel that way was June, and she pushed June away because she was terrified of being replaced. The kitchen fell silent. Garrett stood up abruptly. I'm going to my office. I need to make calls about the funeral. He left without looking at either of us. His mom turned to me with tears in her eyes. I wasn't a bad mother. I never said you were. He thinks I was. He thinks I didn't care. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing. She sat down at the table across from me. Fiona asked you to take the twins. Yes. You're not equipped for that. You're single. You work full-time. You don't have children of your own. I know. I could take them. Garrett's father and I have resources. A big house. We could give them everything they need, except what Fiona wanted them to have. Her lips thinned. Fiona wasn't thinking clearly. She was dying. I think she was thinking more clearly than she'd ever been. You don't even have legal custody. Garrett would have to agree. I know that too. She stood up. I'm going to check on the twins. After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen, drinking cold coffee and wondering what the hell I'd gotten myself into. My phone buzzed. Dylan, my flight lands at 2:00 p.m. Can you pick me up? Garrett doesn't know you're coming. So? You said the twins needed me. They don't know you're their father, Dylan. You can't just show up and I'm not showing up as their father. I'm showing up as your brother who came to support you after your best friend died. That's it. I rubbed my temples. A headache was building behind my eyes. Fine. I'll pick you up. I hung up and went to find Garrett. He was in his home office, staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. My brother's coming today, I said from the doorway. He looked up. Why? To support me. He doesn't know about Theo. Are you going to tell him? I don't know. Fiona didn't want him to know, but he's already asking questions about why I'm so involved with your family. Garrett leaned back in his chair. What if Theo looks like him? He doesn't. Theo looks like Fiona. That's probably why you never suspected. There were moments. Times I'd catch Theo making an expression that seemed familiar, but I couldn't place it. Or the way he laughs. It's not like my laugh. Kids don't have to look or act like their parents. But he's not my kid, is he? Biologically, I mean. Biology doesn't determine family. Tell that to every court in the country. If your brother wanted custody, he'd probably get it. He's the biological father. I felt cold. Dylan doesn't want custody. He doesn't even know Theo exists. He knows now. He agreed not to make this complicated. People say a lot of things. Doesn't mean they mean it. I left before I could say something I'd regret. The twins were in the living room. Lily was watching cartoons without really watching them. Theo was sitting on the floor with a book open, but not reading it. I have to go pick up my brother from the airport, I told them, but I'll be back in a few hours. Lily looked panicked. Don't leave. I have to, but I promise I'm coming back. Promise? I promise. Theo glanced up at me. Your brother? The one from Seattle? Yeah, Uncle Dylan. Why is he coming? Because he heard about your mom and wanted to be here for me. Theo studied me with those unnerving eyes. He's never come before. No. So why now? I didn't have a good answer for that. At least not one I could tell him. Because sometimes people show up when things are really bad, I finally said. He went back to his book without responding. The drive to the airport gave me time to think about what I was going to say to Dylan, about how I was going to manage this impossible situation, about whether I was really capable of raising 2 traumatized children. Dylan was waiting at the curb when I pulled up. He threw his bag in the back and climbed into the passenger seat. Hey. We pulled away from the airport in silence. How are the kids? He finally asked. About as well as you'd expect. Do they know about me? No, and they're not going to. June, don't. We're not having this conversation right now. When are we having it? Never, if I have any say in it. He turned to look at me. He's my son. He's Garrett's son. You were a sperm donor whether you intended to be or not. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Fiona's dead. Those kids lost their mother. Don't make this harder by claiming rights to a child you never knew existed. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying, what? That you want to be involved? That you want visitation rights? What exactly are you saying, Dylan? He was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I haven't processed any of this. We'll process it quickly because we're about to walk into a house full of grieving people, and you need to be the supportive brother, not the biological father having an identity crisis. We drove the rest of the way in tense silence. Garrett was in the front yard when we arrived, smoking a cigarette. I'd never seen him smoke before. You must be Dylan, Garrett said as we got out. There was no warmth in his voice. Yeah, I'm sorry about your wife. Garrett took a long drag. June told you? About Fiona? Yeah. About Theo? Dylan went still. She mentioned it. And nothing. I'm here to support my sister. Convenient timing, Garrett, I warned. But Garrett wasn't done. 6 years. You had 6 years to be involved in that kid's life, and you never once came to visit. But now that you know he's yours, suddenly you care? I didn't know he was mine 6 years ago. Fiona didn't tell you because she knew you wouldn't step up. You don't know that, don't I? You were freshly divorced, struggling with your own shit. You think she wanted to burden you with a kid? She made the choice to protect everyone involved. Dylan's jaw clenched. I would have been there if she'd told me. You can't know that. And now she's dead, so we'll never know what would have happened. Garrett flicked his cigarette away. But here's what I do know. Those kids have been through hell. They don't need more chaos. So if you're here to complicate things, you should leave now. I'm not here to complicate anything. Good. Because if you try to claim custody or mess with their heads or do anything that makes the situation worse, I will destroy you. Legal fees mean nothing to me. I will bury you in paperwork and lawyers until you give up. Are we clear? Crystal. Garrett turned to me. Your brother can stay in the guest room, but I want him gone by Friday. He went back inside without waiting for a response. Dylan looked shaken. He's serious. Of course he's serious. His wife just died. About destroying me, about keeping me away from Theo. What did you expect? That he'd welcome you with open arms? I don't know what I expected. We walked into the house. The twins were exactly where I'd left them. Lily glanced up when we entered, then went back to the TV. Theo didn't react at all. Lily, Theo, I said gently. This is my brother Dylan. He came from Seattle to visit. Lily gave him a tiny wave. Theo ignored him completely. Dylan sat down on the couch near Lily. Hey, I'm really sorry about your mom. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. She nodded but didn't speak. If there's anything I can do, can you bring her back? Lily asked. No, I can't. I wish I could. Then there's nothing you can do. She got up and went upstairs. Dylan looked at me helplessly. Should I? Leave her alone, I said. She needs space. Theo finally looked up from his book. He stared at Dylan for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. You look familiar, Theo said. My heart stopped. I just have one of those faces, Dylan said quickly. No, it's something else. Theo tilted his head, studying Dylan the way he studied everything, with that intense, analytical focus that made him seem much older than 6. Have we met before? I don't think so, buddy. Don't call me buddy. I'm not your buddy. Dylan flinched. Theo went back to his book, but I could tell he wasn't reading. He was thinking, processing, trying to figure out why this stranger felt familiar. I pulled Dylan into the kitchen. You need to be more careful. What did I do? Theo's sharp, sharper than most adults. If you slip up even once, he'll figure it out. How would he figure it out? He's 6 years old. He asked Fiona for a paternity test when he was 4 because he noticed he didn't look anything like Garrett. Fiona told me about it. She laughed it off at the time, but Theo never forgot. He knows something doesn't add up about his parentage. Dylan paled. Jesus. So you need to be just my brother. Nothing more. No staring at him. No trying to bond. Just be background support for me. This is harder than I thought it would be. Welcome to my world. Garrett's mom emerged from upstairs. When she saw Dylan, her expression cooled. You must be June's brother. Dylan, nice to meet you. She didn't offer her hand. I'm surprised you came. June said you hadn't visited in years. I hadn't. But family is important during times like this. Indeed, though I noticed you never visited when Fiona was alive. Only after she died and June might need help with the children. The implication was clear. Dylan's face reddened. I'm not here for the kids. I'm here for my sister. Of course you are. She turned to me. I'm going to the funeral home to make arrangements. Garrett is useless. Someone has to handle things. She left before anyone could respond. She hates me, Dylan said. She hates everyone right now. Don't take it personally. The next few days were a nightmare. Garrett's mom took over all the funeral arrangements, which meant a massive Catholic service even though Fiona wasn't particularly religious. She invited hundreds of people, ordered flowers, hired caterers, turned my best friend's death into a social event. Meanwhile, the twins shut down completely. Lily stopped talking. Theo stopped eating. Both of them followed me around the house like shadows, terrified I'd disappear. I moved into the guest room at Garrett's so I could be there when they woke up from nightmares, which was every night. Dylan tried to help, but kept making mistakes. He'd forget and call Theo son, or try to give him fatherly advice. I had to run interference constantly, pulling him aside and reminding him to back off. On Thursday night, Garrett cornered me in the kitchen. Your brother needs to leave. He's not doing anything wrong. He's looking at Theo like he's his kid. Everyone's going to notice. No one's noticed anything. My mom noticed. She asked me if Dylan was why Theo doesn't look like me. My stomach dropped. What did you tell her? That genetics are unpredictable. But she didn't buy it. And if she's asking questions, other people will too. Dylan leaves tomorrow. I'll make sure he doesn't come to the funeral. Good. Friday morning, I drove Dylan back to the airport. He was quiet for most of the drive. I can't do this, he finally said. Do what? Pretend he's not my son. Act like I don't care. You have to. Why? Because Fiona decided 6 years ago that I shouldn't be involved? Because Theo has already lost his mother. He doesn't need to lose his father too. I'm his father. No, Dylan. You're his sperm donor. Garrett is his father. Garrett's been there for every birthday, every scraped knee, every parent-teacher conference. You've been in Seattle living your life. I didn't have a choice. And you still don't. Fiona made the choice for you. She decided Garrett would be Theo's father. And now that she's gone, you don't get to swoop in and rewrite history. We pulled up to the airport. Dylan didn't get out immediately. What if I fight for custody? He asked quietly. Then you'll destroy that little boy's life. He'll find out his entire existence is a lie, that his dad isn't his dad, that his aunt is actually his aunt by blood, that his mother kept secrets from him. You'll shatter whatever trust he has left in adults. Maybe he deserves to know the truth. Maybe he deserves to have one stable thing in his life after losing his mother, and that stable thing is believing Garrett is his father. Dylan was crying. I'd never seen my brother cry before. I didn't know I wanted to be a father until I knew I was one, he said. And now that I know, I can't unknow it. You have to try. What if I can't? Then you stay away. Because if you can't put Theo's needs above your own, you're not fit to be his father anyway. It was harsh, but it needed to be said. Dylan grabbed his bag and got out without another word. I watched him walk into the airport, wondering if I'd just lost my brother. The funeral was Saturday. 300 people showed up. Most of them I'd never seen before. Business associates of Garrett's family. Women from some charity board Garrett's mom sat on. A handful of Fiona's actual friends. The twins wore matching black outfits. Lily held my hand through the entire service. Theo sat between Garrett and me, stiff and silent. When it was time for eulogies, Garrett's mom went first. She talked about how Fiona was a devoted mother and loving wife, how she always put her family first, how she'll be remembered for her grace and kindness. It was bullshit. Beautiful, polished bullshit. Garrett went next. He talked about falling in love with Fiona, their wedding day, the birth of the twins. He broke down halfway through and couldn't finish. Then it was my turn. I hadn't planned to speak, but Lily looked up at me with those devastated eyes and whispered, "Tell them about Mom." So I stood up and walked to the front. I met Fiona in 7th grade. I started. My voice was shaking. She sat next to me in science class and asked if I wanted to be lab partners. I said yes because she seemed nice. Turned out she was terrible at science. A few people laughed softly, but she was good at being a friend. The kind of friend who remembered your birthday, who showed up when you called at 2 a.m., who told you the truth even when you didn't want to hear it. I looked at the twins. When Lily and Theo were born, Fiona was terrified. She called me from the hospital crying because she was convinced she'd be a terrible mother. She said she didn't know how to keep tiny humans alive. More people laughed. But she figured it out. She learned. And she loved those kids more than anything in the world. My voice broke. She loved them so much it scared her. She was afraid she wasn't enough for them. Afraid they'd figure out she was making it up as she went along. But here's the truth. Every parent is making it up as they go along. And Fiona did it better than most. I looked at Garrett. She asked me to take care of her children if anything happened to her. Not because she didn't trust Garrett, but because she knew how much I loved them, and because she knew they'd need someone who could tell them stories about her, someone who knew her before she was a mother, someone who could remind them that their mom was funny and flawed and human. I turned back to the crowd. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell them about the time Fiona tried to bake a cake for my birthday and set off the fire alarm, about the time she convinced me to skip school and we got caught because she couldn't stop laughing, about the time she fell in love with Garrett and called me at midnight to tell me she'd found the one. Tears were streaming down my face now. I'm going to make sure they know their mother, the real her, not just the polished version, but the messy, beautiful, complicated person who loved them more than anything. I sat back down. Lily crawled into my lap and buried her face in my shoulder. Theo reached over and took my hand. After the funeral, there was a reception at Garrett's house. More people I didn't know, eating fancy finger foods and drinking wine and talking about how tragic it all was. I found Garrett in his office, hiding from his own party. That was a good eulogy, he said. Thanks. You meant it. About taking them. Yes. He looked at me for a long moment. I can't do this alone. You won't have to. My mom wants them to live with her. She's already talking about hiring nannies and enrolling them in private school. What do you want? I want my wife back. His voice broke. I want to rewind time and tell her she was a good mother. I want to fix all the things I broke by working too much and being absent, but I can't have any of that. So I guess I want whatever's best for the twins, which is you. They need you. They've always needed you. And you? I need you too, but not like, I just mean I need help, someone who knows them, who can pick up where Fiona left off. I can't replace Fiona. I know, but you can be there in the ways I can't. Between the two of us, maybe we can give them something close to what they need. There was a knock on the door. Garrett's mom walked in without waiting for permission. We need to discuss living arrangements, she said. No preamble, no softness, just business. Not now, Mom. Yes, now. Those children need stability, structure, proper parenting. They have proper parenting, do they? You work constantly. June is a single woman with no experience raising children. I can provide. June is taking custody, Garrett interrupted. Fiona wanted that. It's what's going to happen. His mom's face hardened. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. The courts won't see it that way. A single working woman with no children of her own versus a stable married couple with resources? I'll fight this, Garrett. Then you'll lose. Garrett stood up. And you'll lose more than just custody. You'll lose access to your grandchildren, because I will back June 100%. And if you fight her, you fight me. This is absurd. This is what Fiona wanted. Garrett's voice rose. For once, can you respect what she wanted? Even though she's dead? Even though it doesn't fit your idea of what's proper? His mom's face flushed. I'm trying to protect those children. You're trying to control them. There's a difference. She turned to me. You can't seriously think you're capable of this. I don't know if I'm capable, I admitted, but I'm going to try. And when you fail, when you realize it's too hard, what happens to those children then? I won't fail. Everyone says that. Then reality sets in. Late nights, tantrums, endless needs. You'll last a month before you're overwhelmed. Then I'll be overwhelmed. But I won't abandon them. She stared at me for a long moment. We'll see. After she left, Garrett sank back into his chair. I'm sorry about her. She's grieving. She's controlling. Always has been. That's why Fiona never wanted her more involved. What happens now? Legally? I need to transfer custody to you. It'll take some time. Paperwork, court approval. But since Fiona specifically requested it and I'm agreeing, it should go through. How long? Maybe 6 months. In the meantime, you'd have temporary guardianship. You can make medical decisions, school decisions, all of that. And you? I keep full legal custody until the transfer is complete. But day to day, you're in charge. It was overwhelming, terrifying, but I nodded anyway. Okay? You'll need to move in, at least initially. The twins need consistency. What about my job? Fiona had a life insurance policy. It's enough to cover expenses for a while. You can work part-time or take leave or whatever you need. Money isn't an issue. Your mom's going to use that against me. Say I'm only doing this for money. Let her. I know the truth. That's what matters. We heard a crash from downstairs. Both of us rushed out to find Theo standing in the middle of the living room, surrounded by broken plates. I dropped them, he said flatly. No emotion. No apology. Garrett's mom descended on him. What were you thinking? Those plates are irreplaceable. Stop, Garrett said firmly. He needs to learn. He's 6 years old and his mother just died. He doesn't need a lecture about plates. I knelt down next to Theo. Are you hurt? He shook his head. Did you drop them on purpose? A pause, then a small nod. Why? I wanted to break something. His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear him. Everything else is broken. Why not plates? I pulled him into a hug. He resisted at first, then collapsed against me. His body shook with silent sobs. It's okay to be angry, I whispered. It's okay to want to break things. Is it okay to want to break me? He asked. My heart shattered. You're not broken, Theo. You're hurting. There's a difference. It feels the same. I know, but I promise you, it's different. Broken things can't be fixed. Hurting things can heal. How long does healing take? I don't know, but we'll figure it out together. He clung to me while Garrett's mom cleaned up the plates, muttering about proper discipline and children running wild. Lily appeared at the top of the stairs, her face scared. Is Theo okay? Come here, sweetheart, I said. She ran down and joined our hug. The three of us sat on the floor of the living room, holding each other while the reception continued around us. That night, after everyone left, I put the twins to bed. Lily made me check under her bed and in her closet for monsters. Theo made me promise 3 times that I'd still be there in the morning. When they were finally asleep, I went downstairs. Garrett was sitting in the dark, drinking whiskey. Want some? He offered. Yeah. He poured me a glass. We sat in silence for a while. I keep waiting for her to walk through that door, he said eventually. Tell me this was all some terrible nightmare. Me too. Do you think she knew how much she meant to them? To all of us? I think she knew. She was just scared of not being enough. She was more than enough. She was human. That's what she couldn't forgive herself for. Garrett refilled his glass. I cheated on her. I went still. 3 years ago, with a coworker. It lasted 6 months before Fiona found out. He laughed bitterly. That's why she had the affair with your brother. She was trying to hurt me the way I hurt her. Did it work? What do you think? Finding out one of my kids isn't mine? Yeah, it worked. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to know what kind of man you're trusting with half the responsibility for those kids. I'm not the good guy here. I'm the guy who destroyed his marriage and drove his wife into another man's arms. Fiona chose to have that affair. That's on her, not you. Isn't it though? If I hadn't cheated first, you'd still be married to someone who felt inadequate. Fiona's issues went deeper than your affair. She had postpartum depression, anxiety, self-worth issues that started long before you cheated. That doesn't excuse what I did. No, but it means you're not solely responsible for every mistake in your marriage. He was quiet for a long time. I don't know how to do this without her. None of us do, but we figure it out anyway. What if I mess them up even more? Then we figure out how to help them through that too. He looked at me. You're really going to do this? Give up your life to raise someone else's kids? They're not someone else's kids. They're Lily and Theo. And I love them. Even Theo, knowing what you know, especially Theo. He didn't ask for any of this. Garrett nodded slowly. Okay, then let's figure out how to make this work. Over the next week, we developed a system. I moved into the guest room, took over morning routines, got the twins to school. Garrett handled evenings when he could, but his work schedule was unpredictable. Lily started talking again, but only to me. She wouldn't speak to Garrett or his mom or even her teachers. Just me. Theo started eating again, but barely. A few bites at each meal. He lost weight rapidly, his already thin frame becoming skeletal. The pediatrician said it was normal grief response. Give it time. Monitor closely. If it gets worse, we might need to intervene. It got worse. 2 weeks after the funeral, Theo passed out at school. His blood sugar had dropped dangerously low. I got the call during a meeting with Garrett and the lawyer handling custody transfer. I broke every speed limit getting to the school. Theo was conscious by the time I arrived, sitting in the nurse's office with juice and crackers he wasn't drinking or eating. Hey, buddy. You said you wouldn't call me buddy. Sorry. Hey, Theo. He looked up at me with those 2 old eyes. I'm tired. I know. Not tired like sleepy. Tired like I don't want to be awake anymore. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Mom isn't here. Nothing's fun. Food doesn't taste good. Why should I keep doing this? He was 6 years old and talking about not wanting to exist. Because Lily needs you, I said carefully. And I need you. And your dad needs you. He's not my dad. The words hung in the air like smoke. What? Garrett isn't my dad. I figured it out. Theo, I'm not stupid. I know I don't look like him. I know Mom and him used to fight about me being different. I heard them once when they thought I was asleep. Mom said something about me being her mistake. I felt sick. Your mom didn't mean she did. And it's okay. I know I'm the mistake kid. The one from before. Lily's the real kid. That's not true. Then who's my real dad? I couldn't answer. Couldn't betray Fiona's secret. Couldn't lie to this child who'd already been lied to enough. I don't think now is the right time to have this conversation, I finally said. Because you're going to lie to me too? No, because you just passed out and need medical attention. But I promise you, when you're feeling better, we'll talk about this. Really talk. No more secrets. He studied me, trying to decide if I was trustworthy. Promise? I promise. We went to the emergency room. They ran tests, gave him IV fluids, and kept him overnight for observation. Lily refused to leave, so I stayed with both of them. Garrett showed up around midnight. He looked wrecked. The nurse called me. He said, "How is he? Physically? He'll be fine. Emotionally?" I shook my head. What happened? I pulled him into the hallway so we could talk without Theo hearing. He knows. Knows what? That you're not his biological father. Garrett went pale. How? He figured it out. He's been listening to fights you and Fiona had. He thinks he's a mistake. Jesus Christ. He asked me who his real father is. What did you tell him? Nothing yet. But I promised we'd talk about it when he's feeling better. You can't tell him. He deserves the truth. He deserves to not have his world imploded even more than it already has. His world is already imploded. He just told me he doesn't want to be alive anymore. Garrett flinched like I'd hit him. He's 6 years old and he's given up. I continued. We can't let that happen. And we can't fix it by lying to him. So what do you suggest? We tell him his biological father is your brother who wants nothing to do with him? Dylan doesn't want nothing to do with him. He's backed off because we asked him to. Same thing, is it? What if knowing the truth gives Theo something to hold on to? What if knowing his biological father didn't abandon him, but didn't know he existed, makes a difference? Or what if it makes everything worse? What if he asks to meet Dylan and then Dylan disappoints him? What if Dylan decides being a dad is too hard and walks away? What if we give him the chance to decide for himself what he wants to know? Garrett ran his hands through his hair. I don't know what the right answer is. Neither do I. But I know lying isn't working. We stood in that hospital hallway for a long time, neither of us with good options. Finally, Garrett said, let him heal first, physically. Then we figure out how to tell him without destroying him. Okay. Theo was released the next day with strict instructions. Eat regular meals, drink plenty of fluids, follow up with his pediatrician and a therapist. The therapist appointment was the following week. Her name was Dr. Patricia Chen. She was in her 50s with kind eyes and a calm presence. The first session was just Theo. I sat in the waiting room, trying not to imagine what he was saying. When they came out, Dr. Chen asked to speak with me privately. Theo's an unusual child, she said once we were in her office. I know. He's very perceptive, almost unnervingly so. He's already identified that he's different from his sister in ways that go beyond normal sibling differences. What did he tell you? That he doesn't feel like he belongs in his family. That his mom died thinking he was a mistake. That his dad isn't really his dad. I closed my eyes. He asked me if there's something wrong with him, Dr. Chen continued. If the reason his mom died is because he's broken, that's not. I know it's not. You know it's not. But Theo doesn't know it's not. And until he understands his actual origin story, he's going to keep believing he's fundamentally wrong somehow. So you think we should tell him? I think you should tell him an age-appropriate version of the truth, not the full details, but enough that he understands he's not a mistake. How do we do that without making it worse? You tell him that sometimes adults make choices that are complicated, that his mom and his dad Garrett love him completely, and that his biological father didn't know about him. But if he had, he would have loved him too. His biological father wants to be involved. Does Theo want that? I don't know. I'm not sure he even understands what that would mean. Then my suggestion is this. Tell him the truth about his parentage. Answer his questions honestly but age-appropriately, and let him decide over time if and when he wants to meet his biological father. What if that ruins his relationship with Garrett? What if keeping this secret ruins it instead? She had a point. I drove home and told Garrett what the therapist said. He didn't take it well. So I'm supposed to tell my son that I'm not his real father? That his mother lied to him his whole life? You're supposed to tell him the truth so he stops thinking he's broken. And what happens after? He'll hate me. He'll hate Fiona. He'll want Dylan instead. Maybe. Or maybe he'll finally understand that he's loved by everyone, not just tolerated. Garrett was quiet for a long time. I'll do it. But Dylan needs to be here. What? If we're going to tell Theo the truth, Dylan needs to be part of this conversation. Theo deserves to hear from Dylan directly, that he didn't abandon him. I called Dylan that night. We need you to come back. Did something happen? Theo knows he's not Garrett's biological son. He thinks he's a mistake. His therapist thinks we need to tell him the truth. Shit. Can you be here this weekend? Yeah, I'll book a flight now. And Dylan, you need to be sure about this. Once we tell him there's no going back, he's going to want you in his life. Can you handle that? I don't know, but I'll figure it out. For him. That Friday, Dylan flew in. I picked him up from the airport. He looked terrified. What if I say the wrong thing? He asked in the car. Then we correct it and move on. What if he hates me? Then we deal with that too. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's necessary. There's a difference. We spent Friday night planning what to say, how to explain this to a 6-year-old without causing more damage. It was impossible, but we had to try anyway. Saturday morning, Garrett and I sat down with Theo in the living room. Lily was at a friend's house. We'd arranged for her to be gone so we could focus on Theo. Dylan waited in the kitchen, ready to come in when we called him. Theo sat on the couch, looking between Garrett and me with wary eyes. Am I in trouble? No, sweetheart, I said. We need to talk to you about something important. About me being different. Garrett took a deep breath. Yes, about you being different. Theo's face closed off. I recognized that look. He was preparing for rejection, for confirmation that he was a mistake. You remember how you asked me who your biological father is? I said. Theo nodded. Well, Garrett is your dad in every way that matters. He's been there since you were born. He loves you completely. But you're right that he's not your biological father. Then who is? This was it. The moment everything changed. My brother Dylan, I said. He's your biological father. Theo processed this slowly. Uncle Dylan? Yes. But I just met him. At the funeral. I know. He didn't know about you until very recently. Your mom never told him she was pregnant. Why not? Garrett spoke up. Because she loved me, and she wanted our family to stay together. She made a choice to keep it private. Did she not want me? She wanted you very much, I said firmly. She loved you, Theo, so much. She just didn't want to complicate things. Was I the complication? No, the situation was complicated. You were loved. Theo thought about this. Does Dylan know about me now? Yes. Does he want me? That broke my heart. Let's ask him, I said. He's in the kitchen. Do you want him to come in? Theo hesitated, then nodded. I called for Dylan. He walked in looking pale and nervous. He sat in the chair across from Theo. Hi, Dylan said. You're my real dad? Theo asked. I'm your biological father, but Garrett's your real dad. He's been there for you. I haven't. Why not? Because I didn't know about you. Your mom made a choice not to tell me. If I had known, I would have been there. I promise. Do you want me now? Dylan's eyes filled with tears. Yes, I want to know you, if you want to know me. Are you going to leave again? I live in Seattle, so I can't be here every day, but I can visit. We can video chat. I can be in your life in whatever way feels right for you. Theo studied Dylan with that intense gaze. Do I look like you? A little bit. You have my eyes, and my mom's chin. Do I have your laugh? Dylan smiled sadly. I don't know yet. We'll have to figure that out together. Theo turned to Garrett. Are you mad at me? Mad at you? Garrett looked shocked. Why would I be mad at you? Because I'm not really yours. Garrett got down on his knees in front of Theo. Listen to me very carefully. You are mine. Blood doesn't determine family. Love does. And I have loved you since the day you were born. That will never change. Do you understand? Theo nodded, but I could tell he didn't fully believe it. Can I think about this? He asked. Of course, I said. Take all the time you need. He went upstairs to his room. We heard the door close. Dylan looked wrecked. That went terribly. That went as well as it could have. I corrected. He didn't run away screaming. He didn't reject any of us. He's processing. He didn't seem happy to meet me. He just found out his entire understanding of his family was wrong. Give him time. Garrett stood up. I need a drink. He left without another word. Dylan turned to me. Now what? Now we wait. We let him process. We answer his questions when he has them. And we hope we didn't just make everything worse. An hour later, Theo came back downstairs. He walked straight to Dylan. Can you stay for dinner? Dylan looked like he might cry. Yeah, I can stay for dinner. Okay. Theo went back upstairs. That dinner was awkward. Lily knew something was wrong, but couldn't figure out what. She kept looking between all of us, trying to read the room. Theo barely spoke. He picked at his food and watched Dylan carefully. After dinner, Lily went to take a bath. Theo stayed at the table. Can I ask you questions? He asked Dylan. As many as you want. Why did you sleep with my mom? The adults all froze. Dylan struggled for words. That's complicated. That's what adults say when they don't want to tell the truth. You're right, Dylan admitted. Okay. The truth is your mom and Garrett were having problems. Your mom was sad and lonely. I was going through a divorce and I was sad and lonely too. We made a choice that we probably shouldn't have made. We hurt people. And then you were the result of that choice and your mom had to decide what to do. Did you love her? I cared about her, but I didn't love her the way Garrett did. Does that mean you don't love me? No, it means I didn't know you existed. But now that I do, I want to love you, if you'll let me. Theo thought about this. Do I have to call you Dad? You can call me whatever feels right. Dylan is fine. Uncle Dylan is fine. Whatever makes you comfortable. What if I don't want you in my life? Dylan flinched but kept his voice steady. Then that's your choice, and I'll respect it. Really? Really? This is about what you need, not what I want. Theo nodded slowly. Okay. Then he went upstairs without another word. Dylan stayed through the weekend. Theo didn't avoid him, but he didn't seek him out either. He was polite but distant. Testing, I realized. Seeing if Dylan would get frustrated and leave. Dylan passed the test. He stayed patient. Answered questions. Gave Theo space when he needed it. Sunday night, right before Dylan was supposed to leave for his flight, Theo came downstairs with a piece of paper. I drew this for you, he said quietly. It was a picture of two stick figures. One tall, one small. They were holding hands. That's me and you, Theo explained. If you want. Dylan took the picture with shaking hands. Can I keep this? Yes, but you have to come back to get the next one. When do you want me to come back? Theo thought about it. Next month for my birthday. I'll be here. Promise? I promise. After Dylan left, I found Theo in his room. He was lying on his bed staring at the ceiling. You okay? I asked. I don't know. That's okay. You don't have to know. Do you think Mom would be mad that I told Dylan he could come to my birthday? I sat on the edge of his bed. I think your mom would want you to be happy. And if Dylan makes you happy, she'd be okay with that. I don't know if he makes me happy yet. That's okay too. Does Lily need a different dad too? My heart clenched. No, baby. Garrett is Lily's biological father. So I'm the only one who's different. Different doesn't mean bad, doesn't it? His voice was so small. I'm the mistake that made everyone lie. You're not a mistake. You're a surprise. There's a difference. He rolled over to face the wall. I'm tired. I kissed his forehead and left him to rest. The next few weeks were hard. Theo went to therapy twice a week. Lily started having nightmares about me leaving. Garrett threw himself into work, and I tried to hold everything together while feeling like I was drowning. The custody paperwork was moving forward. My lawyer said we'd likely have a court date within 2 months. Garrett's mom had backed off her threats, but I knew she was watching, waiting for me to fail. Dylan called every night to talk to Theo. At first, the conversations were stilted and brief, but slowly, they got longer. Theo started asking questions. About Seattle, about Dylan's childhood, about whether they really did have the same laugh. One night, I heard Theo giggling in his room. I peeked in to see him on video chat with Dylan, both of them making silly faces at each other. When Theo hung up, he saw me in the doorway. He's weird, Theo said. Yeah? But I think I like him. That felt like progress. Theo's birthday was in November. Dylan flew in 3 days early. This time, he stayed at a hotel instead of the house, giving everyone space. The birthday party was small, just family and a few of Theo's classmates. Garrett's parents came, but stayed on the opposite side of the room from Dylan. Lily had made Theo a card with so many glitter glue that it was practically a sculpture. Theo loved it. When it was time for cake, Dylan came to sit next to Theo. Can I give you your present now? Dylan asked. Sure. Dylan handed him a wrapped box. Theo opened it carefully. Inside was a leather journal with Theo's initials embossed on the cover. I noticed you like to write stories, Dylan said. I thought you might want something special to write in. Theo ran his fingers over the leather. This is really nice. There's something else. Dylan pulled out a second identical journal. I got one for me too. I thought maybe we could both write in them. About our days. About what we're thinking. And then when I visit, we can share what we wrote if we want to. Theo looked up at Dylan. Like pen pals? Yeah, like pen pals. That's kind of corny. Dylan laughed. Yeah, it is. I like it though. Yeah? Yeah. That night, after everyone left, Theo asked if Dylan could stay over. Garrett was hesitant but agreed. Dylan slept on the couch. Around 2 a.m., I heard movement downstairs. I went to investigate and found Theo sitting on the floor next to the couch where Dylan was sleeping. Theo, what are you doing? Making sure he doesn't leave while I'm sleeping. My heart broke a little more. I sat down next to him. Dylan's not going to sneak out in the middle of the night. How do you know? Because he promised he'd be here in the morning. And Dylan keeps his promises. Mom made promises too. Your mom didn't choose to leave you. She got sick, but she still left. I couldn't argue with that. You're right, she did. And I know that's scary. But Dylan being here isn't the same thing as your mom being sick. He can choose to stay. And he's choosing to stay. For now, I agreed. And tomorrow, and next month, one day at a time. Theo leaned against me. I miss her. I know, baby. I miss her too. Does it ever stop hurting? I thought about lying, telling him it gets easier. But I'd promised him no more lies. I don't think it stops hurting. But I think you get better at carrying the hurt. Like a heavy backpack. At first it feels impossible. But then your muscles get stronger and it feels a little lighter. How long does that take? I don't know. Different for everyone. We sat in the dark for a while longer. Eventually, Theo fell asleep leaning against me. I carried him back to bed. Dylan was awake when I came back downstairs. I heard, he said quietly. I figured. He's terrified I'm going to disappear. He's terrified everyone is going to disappear. His mom died. In his mind, anyone could leave at any time. Dylan sat up. I won't abandon him. I know that. You know that. But Theo needs time to learn that. How much time? As much as he needs. The next morning, Theo woke up and his first move was to run downstairs. He found Dylan in the kitchen making coffee. You're still here, Theo said, relief clear in his voice. I told you I would be. You're really staying until tonight? Yeah. My flight's not until 8 p.m. Can we do something together? Just us? Dylan looked surprised. Yeah. What do you want to do? I don't know. What did you do with your dad when you were little? Dylan paused. Our father had not been a great dad. Absent, emotionally, focused on work. Dylan and I had both spent our childhoods craving more attention from him. My dad took me to baseball games. Dylan finally said, Do you like baseball? Not really. Then why did he take you? Because he liked baseball. He didn't really ask what I wanted. Theo thought about this. What would you have wanted to do? Honestly, I liked building things. With Legos or blocks or whatever. I would have wanted to build something together. I like building things too. Yeah? Yeah. I have a bunch of Legos in my room. Want to build something? Yeah. They spent the entire day building an elaborate Lego city. Garrett and I watched from a distance, not wanting to interrupt. They look alike, Garrett said quietly. A little. More than a little. How did I never see it before? Because you were Theo's dad. You didn't need to look for someone else in his face. Garrett was quiet for a moment. Am I still his dad? Of course you are. But now Dylan's here, being the fun dad who builds Legos and sends journals and remembers what it's like to be a kid. You're the dad who's been there for every single day of his life, who changed diapers and dealt with tantrums and stayed up with him when he was sick. Dylan gets to swoop in for the fun parts because he wasn't there for the hard parts. That doesn't make him more important, doesn't it? Theo's excited to see him. He's never excited to see me. Theo takes you for granted because you're constant. That's not a bad thing. That's what good parents are. They're the boring, reliable constant that lets kids safely explore the exciting, unpredictable variables. Garrett looked at me. When did you get so wise? When I started living with child therapists' handbooks under my pillow. He laughed. It was the first time I'd heard him laugh since Fiona died. When it was time for Dylan to leave that night, Theo walked him to the door. Will you really come back? Theo asked. Next month, I promise. What if you die before then? Dylan knelt down. Then it won't be because I chose to leave you. But I'm healthy, and I'm careful, and I plan to be around for a very long time. Mom was healthy too. Your mom had cancer. That's different from a random accident. But you're right that we can't guarantee the future. All we can do is make promises for today. And today, I promise I'll be back next month. Is that enough? Theo thought about it. Okay. Dylan hugged him. Theo hugged back this time. After Dylan left, Theo came and found me. Can I sleep in your room tonight? Sure. Is everything okay? I just don't want to be alone. We set up a sleeping bag on my floor. Lily heard about this and insisted on joining us. So all three of us camped out in my room. Right before falling asleep, Theo said, I think Mom would like Dylan. Yeah, he's nice. And he makes me laugh. And he doesn't pretend like he knows everything. Those are good qualities. Do you think if Mom knew about him, she would have wanted me to meet him? I thought about Fiona, about her fear and her love and her desperate desire to keep her family intact. I think your mom wanted whatever would make you happy, I finally said. And if meeting Dylan makes you happy, then yes, she'd want that. I'm not happy he exists because that means Mom lied to me. I know, but I am happy I get to know him now. You can feel both things at once, happy and sad, angry and grateful. Feelings are complicated. Adults are complicated. Everyone is complicated, kiddo. We just get better at hiding it as we get older. The custody hearing was scheduled for early December. My lawyer prepped me extensively. What to say, what not to say, how to present myself as a stable, capable guardian. Garrett's mom showed up with her own lawyer. I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was. The judge was a stern-looking woman in her 60s. She reviewed all the paperwork, then looked at me. Ms. Rodriguez, you're asking for full custody of 2 minor children. Can you explain why you believe this is in their best interest? I took a deep breath. Because their mother asked me to. Because I know these kids. I know that Lily needs extra reassurance at bedtime. That Theo needs time to process before he can talk about his feeling. That they both love mac and cheese, but only the kind with the powder cheese, not the liquid kind. That's hardly a qualification for parenthood. No, but knowing them is. Loving them is. Being willing to put their needs above my convenience is. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm present. And sometimes that's more important than perfect. The judge turned to Garrett's mom. Mrs. Blake, you're contesting this custody arrangement. Can you explain your concerns? My concerns are that Ms. Rodriguez is single, works full-time, and has no experience raising children. My husband and I can provide a stable 2-parent home with financial resources and decades of parenting experience. Ms. Rodriguez, how do you respond? I'm single. Yes, but Garrett will still be in their lives as their father. I'm not replacing him. I'm supplementing. As for work, Fiona's life insurance provides enough that I can work part-time and be present when they need me. And regarding experience, I've been present for most of their lives. I've been their secondary caregiver since they were born. The judge made notes. I'd like to hear from Mr. Blake. Garrett stood up. He looked nervous. Mr. Blake, you're the children's father. You could retain full custody. Why are you supporting this arrangement? Because it's what my wife wanted, and because June is right. She knows my kids better than anyone, better than my parents, sometimes better than me. The twins need stability and familiarity. June provides that. And you're comfortable with someone outside the family having this much control over your children's lives? June is family, maybe not by blood, but by choice. And that matters more. The judge looked at the twins' file. I see here that one child has been meeting with a therapist twice weekly. Can you explain the situation? My heart sank. This was going to be the part that derailed everything. Theo has been struggling with his mother's death, I explained. He also recently learned about his parentage. He discovered that Mr. Blake is not his biological father. This has been difficult for him to process. Who is the biological father? My brother, Dylan Rodriguez. He lives in Seattle but has been working to establish a relationship with Theo. Was he involved in the child's life previously? No, he didn't know about Theo until recently. I see. More notes. And how has this revelation affected the child? He's struggling, but he's in therapy and making progress. The judge turned to Garrett's mom. Mrs. Blake, does this change your position on custody? It confirms my position. This child is clearly dealing with complex emotional issues that require professional stability. My husband and I can provide that. The judge looked at Theo's therapist's report. Dr. Chen has submitted a statement. She indicates that Theo has made significant progress with Ms. Rodriguez's support and that disrupting his current living arrangement would be detrimental to his emotional well-being. She looked up at all of us. I'm going to adjourn this hearing for 2 weeks. I want to conduct home visits and speak with the children privately before making my decision. 2 weeks of waiting. 2 weeks of not knowing if I'd get to keep the twins. The home visit was scheduled for the following Tuesday. A social worker named Mrs. Harper came to evaluate the living situation. She walked through the house making notes, checked that the twins had their own rooms, that there was food in the fridge, that the house was clean and safe. Then she sat down with each twin individually. Lily went first. She was nervous but answered questions honestly. Yes, she liked living here. Yes, she felt safe. Yes, Aunt June took good care of her. Then it was Theo's turn. He was with Mrs. Harper for 45 minutes. When they emerged, his face was unreadable. "Thank you for your time," Mrs. Harper said to me. "I'll have my report ready for the judge." After she left, I found Theo in his room. "How did it go?" She asked a lot of questions. "What kind of questions?" "About whether I feel safe, whether you're nice to me, whether I want to stay here." "What did you tell her?" He looked at me with those two old eyes. I told her the truth. My stomach dropped. "Which is?" "That I want to stay with you, but I also want Garrett to still be my dad. And I want Dylan to visit. And I want Lily to never feel like she's less important than me. And I want my mom back, but I know that's impossible, so I'll settle for everyone else staying." I pulled him into a hug. "That's a lot to want. Is it too much?" "No, it's exactly the right amount." The second hearing was the day before Christmas. The courtroom felt too formal, too cold for what we were deciding. The judge had reviewed everything: home visits, therapy reports, financial statements, character references. She looked at all of us sternly. "I've made my decision regarding custody of Lily and Theodore Blake." My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Based on the evidence presented, the clear wishes of the deceased mother, the support of the surviving father, and the best interest of the children, I'm granting primary custody to Ms. June Rodriguez. Relief flooded through me. "However," the judge continued, "Mr. Garrett Blake will retain significant parenting time and decision-making authority. This is a joint custody arrangement. You'll both need to work together for these children's benefit." She looked at Garrett's parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Blake, you'll have grandparent visitation rights, but I'm putting strict conditions on that. These children have been through enough. I won't tolerate any attempts to undermine the custody arrangement or create conflict." Garrett's mom looked like she wanted to argue, but her lawyer put a hand on her arm. "This case is closed. I wish you all luck. These children need stability, love, and consistency. I trust you'll all provide that." Outside the courtroom, Garrett hugged me. "We did it. We did." His parents left without speaking to us. I felt bad about that, but not bad enough to chase after them. That night, I told the twins that the judge had decided they would live with me permanently. Lily cried with relief. Theo just nodded, like he'd expected this outcome. "Does this mean you're our mom now?" Lily asked. "No, baby. I'm still Aunt June. Your mom was your mom. Nobody replaces her. But you take care of us like a mom." "That's true. I guess I'm like a mom aunt." "What's that?" "It's someone who isn't your mom, but loves you like one anyway." Lily thought about this. I like that. Theo was quiet. I could tell he was processing. Later, when I tucked him in, he asked, "If you're like a mom, what does that make Dylan? What do you want him to be?" "I don't know. He's not like a dad, but he's not just a regular uncle either. Maybe he's his own category. Like how I'm a mom aunt, he's a bio-dad uncle." "That sounds stupid. You got a better name?" He thought about it. "How about just Dylan? Just Dylan works. And Garrett can still be dad." "Yes, Garrett is still dad." "Okay, that makes sense." He rolled over to go to sleep, then rolled back. "Aunt June? Yeah? I'm glad the judge picked you." "Me too, kiddo. Me too." Christmas was quiet. Just the four of us. Garrett, me, and the twins. We made pancakes for breakfast and opened presents in our pajamas. Dylan called from Seattle. He'd offered to fly in, but I told him to stay with his own family for the holiday. Theo talked to him for an hour, showing him all his presents through video chat. After lunch, Garrett fell asleep on the couch. The twins and I watched Christmas movies. During a particularly sappy scene, Lily started crying. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I miss Mom." "I know, sweetie. She always made Christmas special, with fancy cookies and decorations and the advent calendar with chocolates." "You're right. She did. I wish she was here." "Me too." Theo, who'd been silent, suddenly said, "She is here." We both looked at him. "What do you mean?" Lily asked. "She's here because we remember her, because we're doing things she taught us, like how Aunt June made the same cookies Mom used to make, and Dad put up the same decorations. Mom's here in all the things she gave us." Lily thought about this. "That's kinda nice." "Yeah." They both leaned against me and we finished the movie like that. 3 people missing a fourth, but together anyway. The next few months passed in a blur of routine. School drop-offs and pickups, therapy appointments, Dylan visiting every 3 weeks. Slowly, carefully, we built something that looked like a family. It wasn't what Fiona had envisioned. It wasn't traditional. It was messy and complicated and sometimes painful, but it was ours. Theo started calling me Mom June sometimes, which made my heart both ache and sore. Lily stopped having nightmares. Garrett started working less, making time for actual parenting. Dylan and Theo developed their own relationship. It wasn't father-son exactly, more like mentorship. Dylan taught Theo about coding and building things. Theo taught Dylan about patience and persistence. On the anniversary of Fiona's death, we all went to the cemetery. The twins brought flowers. Garrett brought the twins' report cards. Dylan brought a letter he'd written but didn't read aloud. I didn't bring anything tangible, just my memories and my gratitude, because Fiona had given me the greatest gift. She'd given me her children, trusted me with the 2 people she loved most in the world. As we stood there in the cemetery, I made her a silent promise. I would do my best. I would mess up. I would learn. I would adapt. I would love these kids with everything I had. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be real. And maybe that's what family is supposed to be. Not perfect, just real. Just people showing up for each other day after day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Theo took my hand. Lily took my other hand. Garrett stood beside us. Dylan stood slightly apart, respectful of his place in this dynamic. We were a family, unconventional, complicated, but whole in our brokenness. And that was enough. My grandmother left her entire estate to my cousin, who actually visited her, until the lawyer read the part about the hidden camera footage. The words hung in the conference room like a bomb. My cousin Bethany went pale. She'd spent 20 minutes gloating about the beach house, the investment portfolio, the jewelry, about how Grandma Rose loved her best because she drove 3 hours every Sunday while I couldn't be bothered. I'd sat there taking it, because what could I say? "There's a codicil," the lawyer continued, "added 2 weeks before Mrs. Patterson's passing. It includes video evidence." He turned his laptop around. The screen showed Grandma's bedroom. Bethany was rifling through the dresser, shoving jewelry into her purse. The timestamp read 3 months ago. "Just taking what's mine early," she muttered. "The old bat won't notice." The next clip showed Bethany arguing with Grandma about money. "You owe me for showing up to this depressing place every week." My throat tightened. Bethany's mouth opened and closed. "The cameras were installed after concerns from Mrs. Patterson's previous caregiver," the lawyer explained. "Your grandmother reviewed months of footage before revising her will." He clicked to another clip. "This one showed me, 6 months ago, late at night. I'd driven 4 hours after my hospital shift, letting myself in quietly. On screen, I checked on her sleeping form, refilled her water glass, and left fresh lemon cookies with a note. Then I left without waking her. She came every Tuesday." Grandma's voice played from another recording. She sat in her chair, speaking to the camera. "My granddaughter works night shifts as an ER nurse. She never told anyone because she knew Bethany would call her a suck-up. But she came anyway, fixed things I couldn't fix, made sure I had real food." My eyes burned. I didn't know she'd known. "Bethany visited for show," Grandma continued. "Took pictures for social media, then stole from me. She took $43,000 worth of jewelry over 8 months." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Mrs. Patterson left the entire estate to you." He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. The beach house, the stocks, the savings account with $1.2 million. "What does she get?" I whispered. "The bills, restitution for the stolen jewelry, which your grandmother documented, plus legal fees. The amount owed is $67,000. Bethany shot up. "This is insane. The footage has been submitted to the police." The lawyer interrupted. "Pay restitution, or face criminal charges for elder abuse and theft." My hands shook. Grandma had documented everything. "There's one more thing." The lawyer handed me a sealed envelope. "She instructed me to give you this after the reading." I opened it. Inside was a letter and a key. "My dear girl, by now you know the truth. I'm sorry I never told you I knew about your Tuesday visits. The key is to my safety deposit box. Inside you'll find something that explains why I handled things this way. Something about your parents. About the real reason your mother and Bethany's mother never spoke. The truth about our family that I've kept hidden for 40 years. The footage I have changes everything. I love you. I'm sorry for what you're about to discover." I stared at the key, my heart hammering. The lawyer checked his watch. "The bank closes in an hour. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below." I grabbed my purse and ran. Behind me, Bethany was screaming something about lawyers and fraud, but her voice faded as I pushed through the glass doors into the parking lot. My hands trembled as I fumbled with my keys. 45 minutes until the bank closed. The law office was downtown, the bank 15 minutes away if traffic cooperated. It didn't. I sat at a red light, drumming my fingers on the steering wheel, watching the minutes tick by. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Bethany called. Says you stole Grandma's money. What's going on?" I didn't respond. Couldn't. Not until I knew what was in that box. The light turned green. I pressed the accelerator harder than necessary, weaving through afternoon traffic. My mind raced faster than the car. What could Grandma have hidden for 40 years? What truth about Mom and her sister was so devastating it required decades of silence? I knew the basics. Mom and Aunt Patricia hadn't spoken since before I was born. Family gatherings were split down the middle. Thanksgiving with Mom's side. Christmas with no one because Aunt Patricia claimed those holidays. Birthdays celebrated separately. Weddings where one sister refused to attend if the other was invited. "It's complicated," Mom always said when I asked. "Ancient history," Dad would add, changing the subject. But Bethany and I had grown up together anyway. We'd been best friends as kids, before she turned into someone I barely recognized, before the Instagram posts and the designer clothes and the carefully curated life that looked perfect on the outside. The bank appeared ahead. I pulled into the lot with 8 minutes to spare. Inside, the air conditioning hit me like a wall. A woman at the front desk looked up from her computer. "I need to access a safety deposit box," I said, trying to catch my breath. "My grandmother just passed away and left me the key." She glanced at the clock. "We close in 7 minutes. Please. It's urgent." Something in my voice must have convinced her. She nodded and led me to a small room in the back. The walls were lined with metal boxes, all numbered and locked. "Box number?" she asked. I looked at the key. 237. She used her master key and my key together, pulling out a long metal box. "Take your time," she said, though her eyes flicked to the clock again. "I'll give you 10 minutes. The door clicked shut behind her. I stared at the box. My reflection warped in the brushed steel. Whatever was inside had been important enough for Grandma to hide for 4 decades, important enough to mention in her final letter. I lifted the lid. On top was a manila envelope, thick with papers. Beneath it, 3 VHS tapes labeled with dates from 1984, a leather journal, the binding cracked with age, and a small jewelry box. I opened the envelope first. The papers inside were legal documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, court records. I shuffled through them, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. The first document was a birth certificate for Patricia Rose Sullivan, born March 15, 1962, my Aunt Patricia. Except the parents listed weren't Grandma Rose and Grandpa Frank. They were listed as Angela Sullivan and father unknown. Angela Sullivan, Grandma's sister who died in a car accident when I was a baby. I flipped to the next document, another birth certificate. This one for Caroline Marie Patterson, born June 8, 1965. My mother. Parents? Rose Patterson and Frank Patterson. They weren't sisters. Mom and Aunt Patricia weren't sisters at all. My hands shook as I grabbed the next document. Adoption papers dated December 1965. Rose and Frank Patterson adopting Patricia Rose Sullivan, age 3, after the death of her biological mother Angela Sullivan in a vehicle collision. I read it 3 times. The words didn't change. Aunt Patricia was adopted. Mom's cousin, not her sister. Raised together after Aunt Angela died. But why would that cause a 40-year rift? I dug deeper into the stack, found a letter dated January 1984, written in Grandma's neat cursive. Frank has done something unforgivable. Patricia is pregnant and he's the father. My husband. My own husband. She's 22 years old and has called him dad her entire life. I've known for 3 months now and I don't know what to do. Caroline just announced she's pregnant too, due in October. Patricia's baby is due in November. They could be born weeks apart, half siblings instead of cousins. The thought makes me physically ill. Frank begs me not to tell anyone. Says it was a mistake, that Patricia seduced him, but I've seen the way he looks at her, the way he's always looked at her ever since she hit puberty. I think that's why Angela drove off that bridge. I think she knew what Frank was. The letter fell from my hands. My grandfather. I pressed my palm against my mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Grandpa Frank had been dead for 15 years, but suddenly I could see his face clearly, his smile at family dinners, the way he'd joke and laugh, the picture of him holding me as a baby, me and Bethany side by side in his arms. Bethany. Oh God, Bethany. I grabbed another document, a paternity test dated March 1985. It confirmed Frank Patterson as the biological father of Bethany Louise Carson, born November 12, 1984. I was born October 28, 1984. Bethany and I were born 2 weeks apart. We weren't cousins. We were half-sisters. And our grandfather was also Bethany's father. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to breathe, trying to process. My family tree had just collapsed into something twisted and wrong. The journal. I needed to read the journal. I flipped it open. Grandma's handwriting covered every page, dated entries spanning from 1984 to 2024. I started reading, unable to stop, even as the words made everything worse. January 14, 1984. I confronted Frank today. He denied everything until I showed him the evidence. Patricia left her journal out and I read what he's been doing to her since she was 16. 6 years. 6 years of abuse and I never saw it. Or maybe I did see it and didn't want to believe. The signs were there. Her withdrawn behavior. The way she flinched when he touched her shoulder. How she stopped calling him dad and started avoiding family dinners. He cried and begged forgiveness. Said he'd get help. Said he loved me. But all I could think about was Patricia. Barely more than a child. And the baby growing inside her. Caroline's baby and Patricia's baby. Half-siblings born to the same monster. January 28, 1984. Patricia wants to keep the baby. I begged her to consider adoption, to start fresh somewhere new, but she's adamant. Says this baby is hers, not Frank's. I can't tell Caroline. It would destroy her. She's so happy, planning the nursery, talking about how our grandchildren will grow up together. If she knew the truth. February 15, 1984. I've made a decision. Patricia will raise her daughter as her own, and will tell everyone the father is someone she met at college who didn't want to be involved. A one-night stand. Caroline will never know. Frank has agreed to these terms. He'll have no relationship with Patricia's baby. He'll be grandpa to Caroline's child. Nothing more to Patricia's. March 3, 1984. Patricia and I had a terrible fight. She wants Frank to acknowledge the baby. To be a father to her, not just a grandfather playing pretend. I told her that was impossible. That Caroline and the baby she's carrying must be protected. Patricia called me a coward, said I was choosing Caroline over her, just like I always have. Maybe she's right, but what choice do I have? Tell Caroline her father molested his adopted daughter? That her child and Patricia's child share the same father? It would break her. April 17, 1984. Frank moved out today. Temporary separation, we're telling people. Space to work on our marriage. The truth is, I can't look at him. Can't stand the sound of his voice. Caroline keeps asking what happened, why dad left. I tell her we're having some trouble but working through it. She doesn't need this stress while pregnant. I skipped ahead, looking for entries after we were born. November 15, 1984. Patricia had her baby 3 days ago. A girl, Bethany. She won't let me see her. Won't let any of us near. She's living with a friend from college, refusing to come home. I drove to her apartment yesterday with baby clothes and supplies. She wouldn't open the door. November 20th, 1984. Caroline brought her baby to meet me today. My granddaughter. She's perfect. 10 little fingers, 10 little toes. Frank's eyes. God help me. She has Frank's eyes. Caroline named her after me. Rose as the middle name. I held her and cried. And Caroline thought they were happy tears. She has no idea her sister is somewhere across town with a half-sibling baby who shares her father's DNA. December 1st, 1984. Frank wants to come home for Christmas. Says enough time has passed. But how much time is enough after what he did? I agreed on one condition. He signs over half his assets to Patricia. Child support, I called it. Though we both know it's guilt money. Blood money. He signed the papers. Patricia accepted. She still won't talk to me. January 10th, 1985. I saw Patricia at the grocery store today. She had Bethany with her, wrapped in a pink blanket. I tried to approach, to apologize, to fix this somehow. She looked right through me, pushed past with the stroller. I followed her to the parking lot, begging her to let me explain. She finally stopped, turned around, and the hate in her eyes. I've never seen anything like it. You chose her, she said. You chose Caroline and you let him get away with it. Don't ever speak to me again. Then she drove away. March 3rd, 1985. Caroline asked again today why Patricia won't visit anymore. Why Aunt Patricia, as she calls her, never answers the phone. I told her that Patricia is going through something difficult and needs space. Caroline suggested we all get together, bring the babies, let the cousins meet. I made an excuse. Another excuse. How many more can I make before she realizes I'm lying? The entries continued year after year. Grandma documenting the growing rift. Patricia refusing all contact. Caroline confused and hurt by her sister's rejection. Frank playing the role of devoted grandfather while paying secret child support that never appeared on any official records. September 1990. Caroline figured out today that Patricia gets money from Frank. She found bank statements in his office, confronted him about an illegitimate child, asking if that's why Patricia disappeared. He denied everything, said it was a loan from years ago that he's still paying back. She believed him. Why wouldn't she? Her father is a monster, but she doesn't know that. She'll never know that. June 1995. Frank died today. Heart attack at 65. The funeral is Thursday. I called Patricia to tell her. She hung up without a word. Caroline is devastated. Keeps saying her father died without reconciling with his daughter. If only she knew he reconciled exactly as much as he deserved to. October 2000. The girls are 16 now. Caroline showed me photos from her daughter's birthday party. She looks so much like Frank, it hurts. Bethany does too, according to Patricia's Christmas cards. The only communication I get from her now, yearly cards with no return address. 2 half-sisters growing up as cousins, neither knowing the truth. Sometimes I think about telling them. Then, I imagine the fallout, and I stay silent. I flipped forward to more recent entries. August 2023. I'm dying. Cancer, the doctors say. 6 months, maybe a year. I started installing cameras throughout the house. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I want documentation of everything. Who visits, who doesn't, who cares, who steals. I've watched Bethany take my jewelry for months now. Watched her put on a show for social media while robbing me blind. She's become just like Frank. Entitled, manipulative, thinking she deserves whatever she wants regardless of who it hurts. September 2023. Caroline's daughter came to visit last night. She doesn't know I know about her Tuesday visits. Doesn't know I stay up late reviewing the cameras, watching her fix my sink, replace light bulbs, leave food. She's a nurse now. Saves lives. Everything Bethany pretends to be. October 2023. I've decided. When I die, everything goes to Caroline's daughter. Let Bethany face consequences for once. Let her know what it's like to lose something. And I'm leaving documentation. Not just about the theft, about everything. The truth about Frank, about why Patricia and Caroline have been estranged for 40 years, about why Bethany and her cousin are actually half-sisters. It's time. I've kept this secret long enough. November 2023. I'm recording videos to explain everything. Every detail, every decision. The lawyer will show them after I'm gone, after the will is read. Caroline's daughter deserves to know why I chose her. Deserves to understand what kind of family she comes from. And Bethany. God help me. But Bethany needs to know she's the product of incest. That her father was also her grandfather. Maybe that knowledge will change her. Or maybe it will destroy her. Either way, the truth stops being my burden. The journal ended there. I sat in silence. The pages spread across the table. My phone buzzed. 10 minutes had passed. 15. The bank was closed now, but no one had knocked. I picked up the VHS tapes. Dates from 1984. Probably home videos. Evidence that Grandma couldn't bring herself to destroy. The jewelry box was last. I opened it slowly. Inside was a diamond ring, Grandpa Frank's wedding band, and a note in Grandma's handwriting. This belonged to a man who fooled everyone, including me. I want you to have it as a reminder. Evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like family. I closed the box and packed everything back into the safety deposit container. My hands moved on autopilot. Put papers in envelope, stacked tapes, closed journal. My brain was somewhere else entirely, trying to reconstruct my entire family history around this new, horrible truth. A knock on the door made me jump. Miss Patterson? We really need to close up. Coming, I managed. I gathered everything into my purse. The envelope wouldn't fit, so I carried it under my arm, walked through the bank in a daze. The employee who'd helped me watched with concern but didn't ask questions. Outside, the parking lot was mostly empty. The sun sat low on the horizon, painting everything orange and gold. Beautiful, like nothing had changed. Like the world hadn't just tilted on its axis. My phone rang. Mom. I stared at her name on the screen. My mother, who'd grown up with a molested adopted sister, who'd had a baby not knowing her sister was having her father's child at the same time, who'd spent 40 years confused about why Aunt Patricia wouldn't speak to her. Should I tell her? Could I tell her? The phone stopped ringing, went to voicemail, immediately started ringing again. I answered. Where have you been? Mom's voice was sharp with worry. Bethany showed up at the house screaming about Grandma's will, about police and theft charges. She says you inherited everything, that Grandma left videos accusing her of stealing. Please tell me what's happening. I'm at the bank, I said. My voice sounded distant, not quite mine. I just opened Grandma's safety deposit box. And? Did she leave something else? More money? I don't understand why she would cut Bethany out completely. They were so close. They weren't. The words came out harder than I intended. Bethany was stealing from her. Thousands of dollars in jewelry. Grandma had cameras and documented everything. Silence on the other end. But more importantly, I continued, gripping the steering wheel with my free hand, I found out why you and Aunt Patricia stopped speaking. Sweetheart, that's between me and your aunt. It doesn't concern— Did you know she's not actually your sister? The silence stretched longer this time. When Mom spoke again, her voice shook. What? Aunt Patricia. She was your cousin. Grandma adopted her after her real mother died. It's all documented. Birth certificates, adoption papers, everything. No, that's not possible. We grew up together. She was my sister. She was your adopted cousin, I corrected. And there's more. Mom, you should sit down for this. I'm already sitting. Tell me. I took a breath, let it out. There was no good way to say this. Grandpa Frank got her pregnant. That's why she disappeared. That's why she stopped talking to the family. Bethany isn't your niece. She's your half-sister. The line went dead. I looked at the phone. Call ended. I tried calling back. It rang and rang, then voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. A text came through instead. Don't call me right now. I need to process this. Don't tell anyone else. Please. I dropped the phone in my lap and pressed my forehead against the steering wheel. The leather was cool against my skin. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. What had I just done? 40 years of carefully maintained lies, unraveled in a single phone conversation. Grandma's secret, unleashed. The truth bomb she'd left behind, detonated. Another text, this one from an unknown number. This is Aunt Patricia. Your mother just called me for the first time in 40 years. What did you tell her? I stared at the message. My aunt, my actual aunt, I guess, since we weren't blood related through Grandma, had never contacted me before. Never acknowledged my existence beyond those Christmas cards Grandma mentioned. My phone rang. The unknown number. I answered. Did Rose tell you? A woman's voice, rough with emotion. Did my mother finally tell the truth? Grandma left documentation in her safety deposit box. Birth certificates, journal entries, everything. A sound like a sob or a laugh, I couldn't tell which. She's been dead 3 weeks and she's still controlling the narrative, still deciding when and how the truth comes out. I'm sorry, I said, because what else could I say? Don't be sorry, be angry, be furious that 3 generations of women have been poisoned by one man's actions and one woman's silence. She was trying to protect my mom. She was trying to protect herself. Aunt Patricia's voice cracked. She was trying to avoid the embarrassment, the shame. Easier to make me disappear than to confront what Frank did. Easier to let Caroline think I was the bad guy than to admit her precious husband was a child molester. I had no response to that. You're going to tell Bethany, Aunt Patricia continued. It wasn't a question. I don't know. Grandma wanted the truth out, but you're afraid of destroying her, of what it will do to her self-image to know she's the product of incest, that her grandfather is also her father. The words hung in the air between us. Bethany already knows something's wrong with her, Aunt Patricia said quietly. She's spent her whole life trying to fill a hole inside herself with things, with attention, with validation. Do you know why? Because I could never love her the way a mother should. Every time I looked at her, I saw Frank, saw what he did to me. I've spent 39 years trying to be a good mother to a child who's a walking reminder of the worst thing that ever happened to me. My throat tightened. That's not her fault. I know that. Intellectually, I know that. But knowing doesn't make it easier, doesn't make me love her more. And she's felt that her entire life. The absence of something she couldn't name. So she performs, posts perfect photos and collects expensive things and steals from dying old women because maybe if she has enough, does enough, she'll finally feel whole. She needs therapy, not devastating family secrets. She needs the truth, Aunt Patricia corrected. The same truth I needed 40 years ago when everyone around me decided silence was kinder. Silence isn't kindness, it's cowardice. The line went dead. I sat there until the parking lot lights flickered on, harsh fluorescent brightness against the darkening sky. Then I drove home on autopilot, my brain spinning in circles. Tell Bethany. Don't tell Bethany. Tell Mom everything. Keep some things back. Honor Grandma's wishes. Protect people from information that would destroy them. What was the right answer? My apartment was dark when I arrived. I dumped everything on the kitchen table and stared at it. The envelope, the journal, the tapes, the ring. 40 years of secrets in a pile of paper and plastic. I made tea I didn't drink, paced the apartment, read through the journal again, looking for some clarity that wasn't there. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Come over tomorrow. Bring everything. We need to talk. Then another text. This one from Bethany. The police called. They want me to come in for questioning about the theft charges. You did this. You destroyed my relationship with Grandma and now you're destroying my life. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I was exhausted and confused and drowning in information I didn't want. But I texted back anyway. We need to talk. In person. There's something you need to know about Grandma and why she changed the will. Something bigger than the jewelry. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm not interested in your excuses. This isn't about excuses. It's about your father. The dot stopped. A minute passed. Then, what about him? Not over text. Meet me tomorrow. 2 p.m. The coffee shop on Oak Street. Fine. But this better not be a waste of my time. I set the phone down and crawled into bed fully clothed, stared at the ceiling, thought about half-sisters and grandfather-fathers and women who kept terrible secrets to protect people who didn't want protecting. Thought about Grandma Rose, dying alone in a house full of cameras, planning her revenge against a granddaughter who looked too much like Frank, planning to unload 40 years of guilt onto me. Thanks, Grandma. Sleep didn't come until nearly dawn. I met with Mom first. She answered the door looking like she hadn't slept either, gray hair unbrushed, still in the same clothes from yesterday. Dad hovered behind her, worry etched into every line of his face. Show me, Mom said without preamble. I spread everything across the dining room table. Birth certificates here, adoption papers there, the journal in the middle, Grandma's letter on top. Mom read in silence, her lips pressed into a thin line. Dad read over her shoulder, his expression shifting from confusion to horror to fury. That son of a bitch, Dad whispered when he got to the part about Grandpa Frank. I always thought there was something off about him, the way he'd look at teenage girls. But I never imagined, don't. Mom's voice was sharp. Don't pretend you knew. Nobody knew. Nobody wanted to know. She picked up the journal, flipped through pages at random, stopped on an entry from 1989. Caroline asked me today if I thought Patricia would ever forgive her. Mom read aloud. Forgive her for what? For being Frank's legitimate daughter? For being loved while Patricia was violated? I don't know how to tell her there's nothing to forgive, that this was never about her. Mom's hands shook. She set the journal down carefully, like it might explode. She spent 40 years thinking I'd done something wrong, Mom said, thinking she'd hurt Patricia somehow. I sent letters, called, showed up at her apartment. She'd never answer, never explain. I thought maybe it was jealousy, that Mom loved me more or Dad paid more attention to me. I blamed myself for decades. It wasn't your fault, I said. I know that. Intellectually, I know that. But feelings don't care about logic. She looked at me, eyes red. Does Patricia know you found all this? She called me yesterday, right after I told you. What did she say? That Grandma chose silence over truth, that 3 generations were poisoned by one man's actions. Mom flinched. She's not wrong. Are you going to talk to her? Dad asked quietly. I don't know. What would I even say? Sorry our father raped you and I had no idea. Sorry I got the good childhood while yours was a nightmare. Sorry my daughter exists while yours is a living reminder of trauma. Bethany isn't just trauma, I said. She's a person. A person who steals from dying women and posts their suffering on social media for likes. Mom's voice was bitter. A person who's about to find out her entire identity is a lie. You can't tell her, Dad said suddenly. Both of us turned to look at him. I'm serious. This information would destroy her. Some truths are too devastating. That's what Grandma thought, I said. Look how well that worked out. Your grandmother made impossible choices in an impossible situation, Dad argued. She was trying to protect Caroline from trauma, trying to give Bethany a normal life. Maybe she was wrong, but her intentions were selfish, I interrupted. She wanted to avoid confronting what Grandpa Frank did, wanted to maintain the image of a perfect family, so she sacrificed Patricia. Let her take all the pain and blame while everyone else got to live in ignorance. That's not fair, Mom said. None of this is fair, but we get to choose what happens next. Keep lying and watch Bethany spiral, or tell the truth and let her finally understand why things have always felt wrong. We sat in silence. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. I need to talk to Patricia first, Mom finally said. Before we tell Bethany anything, I need to hear her side, her truth, not just Mom's version from 40 years of diary entries. Okay, I agreed. But I'm meeting Bethany at 2 p.m. today. She's expecting answers about the will. What are you going to tell her? I don't know yet. Maybe just about the theft charges. Maybe everything. Depends on the conversation. Mom nodded slowly, picked up her phone, stared at it like it was a foreign object. I have her number, she said. Patricia's number. Mom gave it to me years ago in case of emergencies. I never used it. Maybe now's the time, Dad suggested gently. Mom's finger hovered over the screen. Then she pressed dial and lifted the phone to her ear. We waited. Patricia? Mom's voice cracked on the name. It's Caroline. Can we talk? I know it's been a long time, but I found out about Dad, about what he did, about Bethany. Please don't hang up. A pause. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Okay, yes, tomorrow. I can come to you. Just tell me where. Another pause. I'm so sorry I didn't know, that I couldn't protect you, that you've carried this alone for 40 years. Mom hung up and immediately started sobbing, deep gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Dad wrapped his arms around her and she buried her face in his chest. I looked away, giving them privacy, checked the time, noon. 2 hours until I had to face Bethany. 2 hours to decide if I was brave enough to tell the truth. The coffee shop was crowded. College students with laptops, remote workers in business casual, a book club in the corner, arguing cheerfully about plot holes. Normal people living normal lives. Bethany sat at a corner table, arms crossed. She'd dressed up for this. Full makeup, designer jeans, the Gucci bag I'd seen her steal from Grandma's house in one of the security videos. I slid into the seat across from her with just a black coffee. Couldn't stomach food. This better be good, Bethany said. I have a meeting with my lawyer at 4. About the theft charges? Her jaw tightened. Those charges are bullshit. Grandma gave me that jewelry. Gave it to me because I actually cared about her while you were too busy with your precious hospital shifts to visit. I visited every Tuesday for 2 years, I said calmly. After my night shifts. Grandma knew. She had cameras, Bethany. She documented everything. Oh, so you're spying on family now? That's low, even for you. The cameras weren't my idea. They were Grandma's. She installed them after items started going missing, after her caregiver raised concerns. Bethany's cheeks flushed. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. You can leave right now and face the criminal charges without context. Or you can sit there for 15 minutes and let me explain why Grandma did what she did. She stayed seated. Barely. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken of the birth certificates. Slid the phone across the table. What am I looking at? Bethany asked. Birth certificates. Yours? Mine? Your mom's? She glanced at the screen, then froze. Her eyes darted across the information, reading, rereading. This says my grandmother is Angela Sullivan, not Rose Patterson. Correct. That's wrong. Obviously these are fake or they're real. Your mom was adopted by Grandma Rose after her biological mother died, making your mom and my mom cousins, not sisters, making us cousins, not second cousins. Bethany stared at the screen. Her finger swiped to the next image. The adoption papers. Why would Grandma keep this secret? She asked quietly. This was it. The moment. Tell her everything or protect her from the worst of it. There's more, I said. About why your mom and mine stopped speaking. About who your father is. I know who my father is. Richard Carson. He left when I was 2. That's who your birth certificate says. But it's not the truth. Bethany looked up at me. Really looked. Maybe for the first time in years. What are you saying? I'm saying Grandma left documentation. Journal entries, videos, letters, all explaining what really happened in 1984, what really caused the rift in our family. Just tell me. I pulled up the photo of Grandpa Frank's paternity test, pushed the phone back to her. Bethany read in silence. Her face went pale, then green. This is fake, she whispered. This has to be fake. Grandpa Frank he couldn't be my father. Yes. Grandma documented everything. Your mom was his adopted daughter. He started abusing her when she was 16, got her pregnant when she was 22. That's why she left. That's why she never spoke to my mom again. No. Bethany shook her head violently. No, you're lying. You're making this up to hurt me because you're jealous. I'm not jealous of you, Bethany. I'm trying to give you the truth Grandma kept hidden for 40 years. Shut up. Her voice rose. People at nearby tables glanced over. You don't know what you're talking about. Grandpa Frank loved me. He was the only one who— She stopped. Her expression shifted from denial to realization to horror. He used to visit, she said slowly. When I was little, he'd bring gifts, expensive toys, call me his special girl. Mom would get so angry. She'd scream at him to leave, to never come back. I thought she was just being mean. I said nothing. Let her work through it. She was protecting me, Bethany continued. From him, because he was my father, my actual father. And she knew, oh God, she knew what he was capable of. Tears streamed down her face, destroying the careful makeup. She didn't seem to notice. That's why she's always been so cold. Why I never felt. Her breath hitched. I'm not her daughter. Not really. I'm her reminder. Her walking, talking reminder of what he did. You are her daughter, I said firmly. What happened to her wasn't your fault. What Grandpa Frank did wasn't your fault. You're not responsible for any of this. Then why am I the one being punished? Her voice broke. Why did Grandma cut me out? Why did she leave everything to you? If none of this is my fault, why do I get nothing? I thought about the videos. About months of footage showing Bethany stealing, manipulating, performing for social media while Grandma suffered. The inheritance decision wasn't about your birth. It was about your choices. Grandma documented you stealing $43,000 in jewelry, recorded you being verbally abusive when she couldn't give you more money. She saw the real you, Bethany, not the Instagram version, the person behind the performance. So, I'm being punished for stealing from the woman who kept me in the dark about my own existence? That's rich. You're facing consequences for elder abuse and theft. The truth about Grandpa Frank is separate. That's family history you deserve to know, but Grandma kept hidden to protect my mom. Bethany laughed bitterly. Protect Caroline. Always protect perfect Caroline and her perfect daughter. Nobody ever protected me. Nobody ever chose me. Not even my own mother. Your mom spent 40 years being punished for Grandpa Frank's crimes. She was cut off from her family, blamed for something she had no control over. She raised you alone while carrying that trauma. Maybe she couldn't be the mother you needed, but she tried. Don't defend her to me, Bethany snapped. You have no idea what my childhood was like, what it's like to have a mother who flinches when you hug her, who looks at you like you're something disgusting, who tells you you're pretty but sounds like she's lying. I've spent my whole life trying to earn love from someone incapable of giving it. She stood abruptly, grabbing her purse, the Gucci bag that wasn't really hers. You want to know why I stole from Grandma? Because she had everything and I had nothing. Because she loved you effortlessly while barely tolerating me. Because I was so desperate for something, anything, that felt like mine. Bethany, I'm done with this conversation, with this family, with all of you. She walked out. I sat alone at the table, my coffee cold, watching through the window as she got into her car and drove away too fast. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. I'm meeting Patricia tomorrow at 11 a.m. Can you come with me? I texted back, yes. Then I gathered my things and drove home in silence, thinking about the wreckage Grandpa Frank had left behind, about how one man's actions had poisoned 3 generations, about how truth was supposed to set you free, but sometimes it just made you angrier at all the years wasted on lies. The next morning, I picked up Mom at 9 a.m. We had 2 hours to drive to Patricia's house, which she'd bought 15 years ago on the other side of the state, far enough away that accidental encounters were impossible. Mom was quiet the whole drive. She'd printed out some of Grandma's journal entries and kept reading them, lips moving silently. Did you know, she finally said, that Mom wrote about wishing I'd never asked about Patricia, that my questions made her feel guilty, and she resented me for it? She was human, I offered. Humans are complicated. She was a coward. She watched her own daughter, her adopted daughter, be abused by her husband and chose to protect the lie over protecting Patricia. That's not complicated. That's cowardly. I couldn't argue with that. Patricia's house was a small ranch in a quiet neighborhood. Kids' bikes on lawns, a basketball hoop in the driveway next door. Normal, suburban life. We sat in the car for a moment. You ready? I asked. No, but let's do this anyway. The door opened before we reached it. Patricia stood in the frame, older than the photos I'd seen, but unmistakably my mom's half-sister. Same cheekbones, same green eyes, same nose. Caroline, she said softly. Patricia. Mom's voice shook. They stared at each other. 40 years of silence between them, heavy and suffocating. Then Mom said, I'm so sorry. And Patricia started crying. They stood there on the porch, both sobbing, neither moving to embrace, like they'd forgotten how. Come in, Patricia finally managed. Please. The house was tidy but sparse. Minimal furniture, no family photos on the walls, like someone who'd learned not to get attached to anything. We sat in the living room. Patricia brought coffee nobody drank. I got your call, Patricia said, looking at me. The one where you told Caroline about Rose's safety deposit box. Thank you for that. For finally making the truth impossible to ignore. I didn't do it to make you feel better, I admitted. Grandma left instructions. She wanted everything revealed after she died. Of course she did. One last manipulation. One last chance to control the narrative. Patricia's smile was bitter. Even dead, Rose gets to play puppet master. Gets to decide when and how the truth comes out. Gets to frame herself as the woman who made impossible choices in an impossible situation. That's not fair, Mom said quietly. She was trying to protect me. She was trying to protect herself, Patricia's voice cracked. Don't you see that? She knew what Frank was doing and stayed silent because admitting it would destroy her perfect life, her perfect marriage, her perfect family. She was scared. I was scared. I was 16 years old and my father, the man who raised me, started coming into my room at night, started touching me, started telling me I was special, that he loved me differently than he loved you. And when I told Rose, you know what she did? She called me a liar. Said I was jealous of you. Said I was trying to destroy the family. Mom's face went white. She didn't tell me that. In the journal, she said, the journal is 40 years of justification and lies. It's Rose rewriting history to make herself the tragic hero instead of the enabler. Patricia stood, pacing. She didn't confront Frank until I was pregnant, until hiding the truth became impossible. And even then, her first priority was protecting you, protecting your pregnancy, protecting your image of your father. I was pregnant, Mom whispered. I was carrying a baby. Learning my father was a rapist would have been the truth, Patricia shouted. The truth you deserved. The truth that might have saved us both from 40 years of silence and pain and wondering what the hell we did wrong. Silence fell, heavy and absolute. You're right, Mom finally said. You're absolutely right. I should have known, should have been told, should have had the chance to choose what to do with that information instead of having it hidden from me like I was too fragile to handle reality. Patricia sat back down, suddenly deflated. I'm not angry at you, Caroline. I never was. I was angry at Rose and Frank and a system that protected men like him, a family structure that made women into property to be managed and controlled. But I took it out on you because you were the only target I had. Tell me what happened, Mom said. Not Rose's version, yours. So Patricia did. She talked for an hour. About Frank starting to look at her differently when she was 14. About inappropriate comments disguised as jokes. About touches that lasted too long. About the night he first came to her room when Rose was visiting her sister for the weekend. About telling Grandma Rose and being called a liar. About the abuse escalating when she realized no one would believe her. About getting pregnant at 22 and just knowing, that the baby would be visible evidence of what Frank had done. About wanting an abortion but Rose begging her not to. Promising to help raise the baby. Promising support and love and family. Then immediately retracting all of it once Bethany was born, terrified that having the baby around would make Caroline ask questions. She gave me money, Patricia said. Frank's money, blood money, guilt money. Enough that I could live comfortably and stay away. And I took it because what choice did I have? I was 22 with a baby and no family and no support system. I would have supported you, Mom said. If I'd known, but you didn't know. And Rose made sure you never would. She paid for my silence with Frank's money and her own guilt. And I let her because I was young and scared and broken. Patricia looked at me. Your grandmother left you everything because she spent her final months reviewing camera footage, watching Bethany steal, watching her granddaughter turn into exactly what Frank was, someone who takes what they want without caring who it hurts. And Rose couldn't face that. Couldn't accept that maybe Bethany turned out that way because she was raised by a traumatized mother who couldn't love her properly. Because the cycle of abuse doesn't end with the abuser. It echoes through generations. Bethany knows now, I said. I told her yesterday. About Grandpa Frank. About the paternity test. Patricia went very still. How did she take it? Badly. She walked out. Said she was done with the family. Good. She should be done with us. We've done nothing but damage each other for 40 years. Maybe she'll break the cycle by leaving entirely. Or maybe, Mom said carefully, we could break the cycle by actually dealing with the trauma instead of running from it. By getting therapy. By talking instead of hiding. By choosing honesty even when it's painful. Patricia laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think therapy fixes incest? Fixes the fact that my daughter is also my half-sister to your daughter? That Frank's DNA runs through all of us like a poison? I think therapy might help us figure out how to live with it, Mom replied. How to move forward instead of staying frozen in 1984. I've been in therapy for 30 years, Caroline. It doesn't fix anything. It just teaches you how to function despite the brokenness. We sat in silence again. I thought about Bethany, driving too fast out of that parking lot. About how she'd spent her whole life trying to earn love from a mother incapable of giving it. About how knowing the truth might destroy her or free her or some terrible combination of both. I should talk to her, Patricia said suddenly. Bethany, I should explain, answer questions, be honest for once in her life. She might not want to hear it, I warned. She deserves the chance to decide that herself, just like I deserved the chance 40 years ago. Patricia stood. Do you have her number? I did. I sent it to her phone. Patricia looked at it for a long moment. Then she typed out a message and showed it to us. I know you found out about your father, about Frank, about what he did to me. I'm sorry you learned this way. I'm sorry for a lot of things. If you want to talk, I'm here. For the first time in your life, I'm actually here. She hit send. We waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then 3 dots appeared. Why now? Bethany's reply read, why care after 29 years of nothing? Patricia typed, because I was a coward. Because facing you meant facing what happened to me. Because I blamed you for something that wasn't your fault. And I didn't know how to fix it. Because your grandmother's death forced everything into the open and I can't hide anymore. Pick any reason. They're all true. More dots. I'm so angry at you, at Grandma, at all of you. You have every right to be angry. I would be too. I was too. Did you ever love me? Even a little? Patricia's hands shook. She stared at the screen, tears rolling down her cheeks. Answer honestly, Mom said softly. She deserves that. Patricia typed slowly. I tried to. I wanted to. But every time I looked at you, I saw him, saw what he did. And it broke me, made me incapable of being the mother you needed. That's not your fault. That's mine. Mine and Frank's and Rose's. But mostly mine. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover it, but I'm sorry anyway. This time the dots took longer. Can we meet? I have questions. So many questions. Yes, anytime, anywhere. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the coffee shop on Oak Street. Patricia looked at me. That's where you met her yesterday? Yeah. She's giving me the same chance she gave you. One conversation to explain everything. Patricia set her phone down. I don't deserve it. None of us deserve anything, Mom said. But maybe we can earn something better going forward. We stayed another hour, talking, crying, beginning the impossible work of rebuilding something from the ruins of 40 years. When we left, Mom hugged Patricia for the first time in 4 decades. "I'm sorry," Mom whispered. "I'm sorry you went through that alone. I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm sorry Dad was a monster and Mom was a coward and you paid the price for both. I'm sorry too," Patricia whispered back, "for shutting you out, for blaming you, for letting Frank's actions destroy us." They held each other on that porch, 2 women trying to stitch together a relationship that had been torn apart before it had a chance to grow. On the drive home, Mom was quiet again, but this time the silence felt different, less heavy, more contemplative. "Do you think we can fix this?" she finally asked. "Really fix it? Or are we just pretending broken things can be made whole?" "I think broken things can be made into something new," I said. "Not the same as they were, not perfect, but functional, maybe even beautiful in a different way." That's very optimistic for someone who just discovered her grandfather was a pedophile and her cousin is actually her half-aunt. I laughed despite everything. "I work in an ER. You learn to find silver linings in trauma or you burn out. What's the silver lining here? Grandma left me $1.2 million and a beach house. Bethany's facing consequences for her actions. The family secrets are finally out. Patricia and you are talking again. Bethany might get actual answers about why her childhood was so painful. That's not nothing. It's also not everything." "No," I agreed, "but it's a start." The next day, I drove Patricia to the coffee shop. She insisted I come with her, for moral support or witnesses, or maybe just so she wouldn't lose her nerve and turn around. Bethany was already there. Same table as before. No designer bag this time. Hair in a messy ponytail. Face scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked young, vulnerable, scared. Patricia sat down across from her. I took a table nearby, close enough to help if needed, but far enough to give them privacy. "Hi," Patricia said. "Hi," Bethany replied. They stared at each other. Mother and daughter, victim and reminder. 2 people who'd never had a real conversation. Just 29 years of performance and avoidance. "I don't know where to start," Patricia admitted. "Start with why you had me. If Frank raped you, and God, saying that out loud is insane. Why didn't you have an abortion?" "I wanted to. Rose begged me not to. Promised to help raise you. Promised we'd be a family. Then you were born and she panicked. Realized having you around meant Caroline might ask questions. So she paid me to leave. And you took the money." "I took the money because I was 22 and alone and terrified and didn't know what else to do." Bethany's jaw clenched. "You could have gotten therapy. You could have worked through your trauma and learned to be a mother." "I did get therapy. Years of it. It helped me function, but it didn't make me capable of loving you the way you deserved. Because every time I looked at you, you saw him." "Yeah, I got that part yesterday." Bethany's voice was sharp. "So, my entire childhood was shit because I have the wrong face. Your childhood was shit because I failed you. Because 3 adults made terrible decisions and you paid the price. That's on us, not you. That doesn't make it hurt less." I know it doesn't." They sat in silence. I pretended to look at my phone while actually watching them closely, ready to intervene if this went sideways. "Did you ever want me?" Bethany asked quietly. "Even for a moment? Was there ever a time when you looked at me and felt love instead of trauma?" Patricia's face crumpled. "When you were born, for about 30 seconds. Before the nurse put you in my arms and you opened your eyes, Frank's eyes, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could see was him." Bethany flinched. "But," Patricia continued, "there were other moments. Small ones. When you were 3 and learned to bake cookies. When you were 7 and brought home a picture you'd drawn of us. When you were 12 and stood up to a bully at school. In those moments, I saw you. Not him. You. And I felt something that might have been love if I'd been capable of it. That's not enough. I know it's not enough. Nothing I say will ever be enough. Then why are we here?" Bethany's voice broke. "Why sit across from me and admit you couldn't love me? What's the point? Because you deserve answers. Real answers. Not the lies Rose told or the performance I put on. You deserve to know that you weren't the problem. That my failure as a mother had nothing to do with who you are, and everything to do with what was done to me. I still grew up unloved. Yes, and that's unforgivable. But maybe understanding why will help you move forward. Move forward to what? I'm about to be charged with theft. I'm broke. I have no family, no inheritance, no future. Understanding why my mother couldn't love me doesn't fix any of that." "No," Patricia agreed. "But it might help you understand why you made the choices you did. Why you stole. Why you performed. Why you were so desperate for validation that you'd do anything to get it." Bethany was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was small. "I thought if I could just be perfect enough, you'd love me. If I was pretty enough, successful enough, popular enough, maybe you'd look at me with pride instead of pain. So I tried. God, I tried so hard. And it was never enough. It was never about you being enough. You were always enough. I just wasn't." More silence. "I don't forgive you," Bethany said. "I don't know if I ever will. But I'm glad you told me the truth. That's more than I deserve." Bethany stood, started to leave, then turned back. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry about what Frank did. No one deserves that. Not even my shitty mother who couldn't love me." Patricia laughed through tears. "Fair enough." Bethany walked out. Patricia sat alone at the table, crying openly now. I moved to her side. "That went better than I expected," I offered. She didn't throw her coffee at me. That's something. She listened. She engaged. She acknowledged what happened to you. And she still doesn't forgive me. Probably never will. Would you forgive you if you were her? Patricia thought about that. No, I don't think I would. We left the coffee shop together, drove back to her house. Mom was waiting there, nervous. "How did it go?" she asked. "About as well as a conversation about incest and generational trauma can go," Patricia replied. "Which is to say, terribly, but honestly. Will you talk to her again?" "If she wants to." I gave her my number. "What she does with it is up to her." Mom nodded. "I called my therapist today. Made an appointment for next week. I was thinking, if you're open to it, maybe we could do some joint sessions, process this together, figure out how to be sisters again. Adopted sister and biological daughter of the man who raped me, Patricia corrected. Let's not pretend this is a normal sibling relationship. Nothing about our family is normal, but that doesn't mean we can't try. Patricia sighed. Fine, joint therapy. But I'm not promising miracles. I'm not asking for miracles, just honesty. Haven't we had enough honesty for 1 week? Not even close, Mom said. We're just getting started. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the police. Bethany had agreed to pay restitution in full. The criminal charges would be dropped once payment cleared. She'd sold her car, jewelry, designer clothes, everything that could be liquidated. She also wanted me to tell you something, the officer said. Said to tell you she's moving, leaving the state, starting over somewhere no one knows her family history. Did she say where? Colorado. Said she's always wanted to learn to ski. I hung up and stared at my phone. Bethany was leaving, running away from the truth she'd fought so hard to get. Maybe that was healthier than staying. Maybe distance would give her perspective. Maybe she'd find herself somewhere in the mountains, far away from family trauma and fathers and mothers who couldn't love her. Or maybe she'd just run until she couldn't run anymore. Until the past caught up no matter how far she traveled. I called Mom. Bethany's leaving town, moving to Colorado. Patricia will want to know. They've been texting. Not often, but it's something. How's therapy going? Painful. Eye-opening. Necessary. We spent the last session talking about Frank. About warning signs we both missed. About how systems protect predators and punish victims. Heavy topics. Everything about this situation is heavy, but at least we're facing it instead of hiding. Do you think Bethany should stay? Try to work through this with the family? I think Bethany needs to do what's best for her. If that's leaving, then that's valid. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to cut ties completely. Even with Patricia, now that they're finally talking, especially with Patricia, that relationship is toxic, built on trauma. Maybe Bethany needs space from all of us to figure out who she is without the weight of family history crushing her. I thought about that. About how sometimes love means letting go. About how staying connected to family isn't always the right choice, especially when that family is poisoned by secrets and abuse. I'm going to transfer some money to her, I said. From the inheritance. Not a lot, but enough to help her get started in Colorado. Grandma wouldn't approve. Grandma's dead. And honestly, I don't care what she would approve. This isn't about her anymore. It's about trying to do right by someone who's been wronged by every adult in her life. Mom was quiet for a moment. You're a good person, better than any of us deserve. I'm an ER nurse. I fix broken things. Even when they're not fixable, I try. Bethany's not a broken bone you can set. No, but she's still worth trying for. I transferred $50,000 to Bethany's account that night. Added a note. This isn't forgiveness. This isn't permission. This is acknowledgement that you got dealt a shitty hand through no fault of your own. Use it to build something better. You deserve that much. She replied 3 days later. I don't deserve your charity. But I'm taking it anyway because I'm practical and broke and tired of pretending pride matters more than survival. Thank you. Maybe someday I'll pay you back. Maybe not. Either way, I'm done with this family. Moving to Denver next week. Don't look for me. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Sometimes the ending isn't neat. Sometimes people don't reconcile. Sometimes broken things stay broken, and the best you can do is build something new from the pieces. 6 months later, I sold Grandma's beach house. Used half the money to set up a foundation for victims of familial sexual abuse. Named it the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths. Because even in death, Grandma couldn't escape irony. Patricia helped me organize it. Mom managed the paperwork. We met weekly to discuss applications, review grants, plan fundraising events. Slowly, carefully, we built something good from something terrible. Bethany sent one email 3 months after moving. Saw the foundation online. Nice touch with the name. Grandma would hate that her legacy is helping people speak out about the things she spent 40 years hiding. Attached is my donation. It's not much, but it's something. Also, I started therapy. Turns out unpacking generational trauma takes more than a good ski instructor and mountain air. Who knew? B. The donation was $5,000. More than I expected. I emailed back. Therapy's a good start. Proud of you for taking that step. The skiing probably helps too. Mountains have a way of putting things in perspective. Thank you for the donation. It'll help someone. R. She didn't reply. But she donated again 3 months later. And again, 3 months after that. Small connections. Thin threads. Not reconciliation exactly, but not total estrangement either. It was something. Patricia and Mom made progress too. Weekly therapy sessions became bi-weekly coffee meetups. They'd sit together and talk about safe topics. The weather, politics, books they were reading, carefully avoiding anything too heavy. Then one day, Mom brought up memories from childhood. Good ones. Playing in the backyard, building blanket forts, staying up late to watch meteor showers. Patricia added her own memories. Swimming in the creek, catching fireflies, learning to ride bikes. They cried, laughed, grieved the relationship they could have had if Frank hadn't destroyed everything. We can't get that back, Mom said. The innocent childhood relationship. The sister bond that should have been. No, Patricia agreed. But maybe we can build something new. Something honest. Not as good as it could have been, but better than nothing. Better than 40 years of silence. Much better than that. Dad watched all of this from the sidelines. Supportive but uncertain. He'd known Frank as his father-in-law. The jovial old man who told jokes at Christmas and slipped him whiskey when Mom wasn't looking. Learning the truth had shattered his perception of reality. How did I not know? He asked me one night over dinner. How did I spend 20 years around that man and never suspect? Because predators are good at hiding, I said. Because they charm and manipulate and make you doubt your own instincts. Because the system is designed to protect them. I should have protected her. Patricia, I should have seen something. You didn't know to look. That's what makes people like Frank so dangerous. They hide in plain sight. He shook his head. I can't stop thinking about all those family dinners, all those holidays, laughing with a man who, stop, you can't rewrite the past, can't undo what you didn't know. All you can do is move forward with the truth and do better now. Is that what you tell yourself? About Grandma? About all the Tuesday visits while she sat on this enormous secret? Grandma did what she thought was right. It wasn't right, but she thought it was. That's the complicated truth we're all living with. I liked it better when things were simple. Things were never simple. We just didn't know how complicated they were. A year after the will reading, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, Colorado postmark. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a check. The letter read, I've been thinking a lot about families and what we owe each other, about forgiveness and justice and whether they can coexist. I don't have answers, but I'm working on it. Therapy helps. So does distance. So does building a life that's mine, untainted by Patterson family drama. I paid back the $50,000 you gave me, plus interest. Not because I don't appreciate the gesture, but because I need to know I can make it on my own, without family money, without inheritance, without the security blanket of other people's guilt. I'm not ready to reconnect. Maybe I never will be, but I wanted you to know I'm okay. I'm building something here, something clean and mine and completely separate from everything that came before. The foundation is good work. Keep doing that. Keep helping people. You're better at being a Patterson than any of us deserve. Bethany. The check was for $52,000. She'd added 4% interest calculated to the day. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deposited the check and donated it all back to the foundation. Attached a note to the donation record from Bethany Patterson in honor of her mother Patricia, who survived what she shouldn't have had to survive and built a life anyway. Patricia called me 3 days later, crying. You didn't have to do that. Credit her name. Yes, I did. She's part of this story too, part of this legacy. Just because she's choosing distance doesn't mean she should be erased. She might not appreciate it. Maybe not. But it's true anyway. More silence. Thank you, Patricia finally said, for seeing her as a person instead of just a problem to solve. She's always been a person. We just forgot to treat her like one. 2 years after the will reading, Mom hosted Thanksgiving dinner. It was small, just her and Dad, Patricia and her new girlfriend, me. Bethany sent a card. A simple, happy Thanksgiving with a photo of her and a dog on a mountain trail. No note, just the photo. Mom put it on the mantle anyway. Do you think she'll ever come back? She asked, looking at the photo. I don't know. Does it matter? Of course it matters. She's family. Family that hurt her. Family that failed her. Maybe she's better off building something new. Or maybe she's running from something she needs to face. Maybe both are true. We ate dinner, told stories, carefully avoided talking about Frank or Grandma Rose or the years of secrets that had poisoned everything. Instead, we talked about the future, about the foundation, about Patricia's girlfriend who taught pottery, about my promotion at the hospital, about Dad's retirement plans. We talked about hope, about healing, about the possibility that broken things could become something different, not fixed, not perfect, but functional, maybe even beautiful in a strange, complicated way. After dinner, Patricia pulled me aside. I've been working on something, she said, a memoir about what happened, about Frank and Rose and surviving 40 years of silence. Are you going to publish it? I don't know, maybe, or maybe I just need to write it for myself, to get it out, to stop carrying it alone. What does your therapist say? That writing can be therapeutic, that telling your story on your own terms is powerful, that I should do whatever feels right. And what feels right? She thought about that. Honesty. Finally, after all these years, just brutal, uncomfortable honesty. Then write it. Publish it if you want. Tell the world what Frank did and what Rose allowed. Let other people benefit from your experience. Even if it destroys the family reputation, the family reputation was built on lies. Let it burn. She smiled. Actually smiled. You sound like Bethany. Maybe Bethany had the right idea all along. Maybe burning it down and starting over was always the answer. 3 years after the will reading, I got another letter, this time with a return address in Denver. I read Patricia's book, Bethany wrote. She sent me an advance copy, asked permission to include details about me. I said yes, not because I forgive her, but because other people need to hear these stories, need to know they're not alone in growing up with trauma they didn't ask for. The book launches next month. I'm flying in for the release party, first time back since I left. I'm terrified and angry and curious what it'll feel like to see everyone again. I don't want a big reunion, don't want tearful apologies or forced forgiveness, but maybe we could get coffee, just you and me, talk about normal things for once? I replied immediately. Coffee sounds perfect. I'll bring photos of the foundation work. You should see what your donations helped build. I'm proud of you for coming back, even if it's just for a few days. That takes courage. The release party was held at a small bookstore downtown. Patricia read excerpts to a packed room. Her voice shook at first, then grew stronger. She read about Frank, about the abuse, about Rose's complicity, about 40 years of carrying shame that wasn't hers to carry. When she finished, the room was silent. Then someone started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire room was on its feet, applauding. Bethany stood in the back. I watched her face as she listened to her mother's story, to their story, saw the emotions flicker across her features. Anger, sadness, recognition, understanding. After the reading, people swarmed Patricia, thanked her for her bravery, shared their own stories of survival. Bethany waited until the crowd thinned. Then she approached. Hi, Mom, she said. Hi, Bethany, Patricia replied. They stood facing each other, not hugging, not quite smiling, but present, together in the same space for the first time in years. The book is good, Bethany said. Hard to read, but good. Thank you. I wasn't sure how you'd feel about me including you. I'm glad you did. Glad you told the truth. All of it. Even the parts about me failing you, especially those parts. They're the most important ones. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I'm still sorry for everything. I know, I'm still angry, but I'm working on it. That's all I can ask. They stood there a moment longer. Then Bethany turned and walked away. Not running this time, just leaving at her own pace, on her own terms. I followed her outside. That was big, I said, talking to her. Yeah, harder than I thought it would be. Easier in some ways, too. Want to get that coffee now? Actually, I'm meeting someone. My girlfriend. She flew in with me. You have a girlfriend? For 6 months now. She's amazing. Knows my whole messed up history and loves me anyway. I'd like to meet her sometime. Maybe tomorrow, before we fly back. I'm only here for 3 days, but we could do brunch? I'd like that. She smiled. Really smiled. For the first time in as long as I could remember. Thanks for everything, she said. For the money, for the foundation, for not giving up on me even when I gave up on myself. Your family. Complicated, messy, traumatized family. But family. I'm learning that family can mean different things. That you can love people and still need distance. That biology doesn't trump boundaries. Smart woman. I have a good therapist. And a patient girlfriend. And apparently a mother who wrote a best-selling memoir about surviving incest. We both laughed. Dark humor. But humor nonetheless. I should go, Bethany said. My girlfriend's waiting. But tomorrow, 11 a.m., that brunch place on 5th, I'll be there. She walked away. Got into a car where a woman with kind eyes waited. They drove off together into the Denver night. I stood there for a moment, watching the taillights disappear. Then I went back inside. Patricia was signing books. Mom stood beside her, helping organize the line. They looked happy. Not perfect. Not healed. But happy in a genuine way that came from finally telling the truth. How's Bethany? Patricia asked when the line thinned. Good. Really good, actually. She has a girlfriend. They're flying back to Colorado tomorrow, but we're doing brunch. She told me about her. Sierra. Apparently, she works in wildlife conservation. Bethany sounds happy when she talks about her. She does seem happy. Happier than I've seen her since we were kids. Distance was good for her, Patricia said. Giving her space to grow without us was the right choice, even though it meant losing her. I lost her the day she was born. The day I looked at her and saw Frank instead of myself. At least now she has a chance to find herself without carrying my trauma. Mom joined us. Beautiful reading tonight. I'm proud of you. It was terrifying, Patricia admitted, sharing all of that. Knowing people are reading about the worst moments of my life. It was brave, Mom corrected. You're giving voice to people who've been silenced. That matters. I hope so. I hope someone reads this and realizes they're not alone, that they're not broken beyond repair. They'll read it, I assured her. And it will help. I've seen it already with the foundation. People are desperate for permission to be honest about family trauma. Your book gives them that permission. Patricia nodded, wiping tears. Then it was worth it. All the years of therapy and painful writing and reliving the worst moments. If it helps even one person, it was worth it. We stayed until the bookstore closed, then walked to a nearby restaurant for a late dinner. The 3 of us. 3 generations of Patterson women. Learning to be honest with each other. Learning to build something new from the ruins of what came before. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. But it was real. And real was enough. 5 years after the will reading, I attended Bethany's wedding. She married Sierra in a small ceremony in Aspen. Mountains all around. Snow-capped peaks and clear blue sky. The guest list was small. 20 people. Bethany's friends from Colorado. Sierra's family. And me. Patricia wasn't invited. Neither was Mom. I'm not ready for that, Bethany had explained when she sent the invitation. I love them. I'm working toward forgiveness. But I'm not ready to have them at my wedding. This day needs to be about me and Sierra. About our future. Not about family trauma. I understood. So did Patricia and Mom when I told them. She's protecting her joy, Patricia said. That's healthy. Tell her we're happy for her, Mom added. And that we love her even from a distance. So I stood in a Colorado chapel and watched Bethany marry the love of her life. Watched her smile so bright it could power cities. Watched her dance with Sierra under string lights while snow fell softly outside. At the reception, she pulled me aside. Thank you for coming, for being here. Wouldn't miss it. You look happy. I am happy. Genuinely, completely happy. For the first time in my life, I'm not performing happiness. I'm living it. Sierra seems wonderful. She is. She knows everything. About Frank, about Patricia, about me stealing from Grandma, about all of it. And she loves me anyway. Not despite my history, but including it. She says my past is part of what makes me who I am. She's not wrong. I'm writing a book too, Bethany said suddenly, about growing up as the child of an incest survivor. About how trauma echoes through generations even when you don't know the truth. About finding yourself when your entire identity was built on lies. That's brave. Patricia inspired me. Her book helped me realize that telling the story is powerful, that other people need to hear these experiences. When's it coming out? Next year, I'm working with Patricia's publisher. We're actually talking about doing some joint events. Mother-daughter talks about generational trauma. Weird, right? Weird but beautiful. Yeah, weird but beautiful. That's basically our family motto at this point. She laughed. I laughed. The weight of years of pain felt a little lighter. I'm glad you found this, I said, gesturing to the reception. To Sierra, to the life she'd built. You deserve every bit of happiness. We all do. Even Patricia. Even Mom. Even Grandma, may she rest in her complicated legacy. Grandma would probably hate that we're all thriving despite her secrets. Good. Let her ghost be annoyed. We're done living for dead people's comfort. We hugged. She went back to her wife. I watched them dance. Later, I video called Mom and Patricia. Showed them the ceremony photos. They cried happy tears. Tell her we're proud, Patricia said. Tell her I love her. Even if I wasn't there, I love her. She knows, I assured her. She's working toward a place where she can tell you herself. Give her time. I've got nothing but time, Patricia replied. And hope. Finally, after all these years, I have hope. 10 years after the will reading, Patricia died. It was sudden, a stroke. She went peacefully, her girlfriend by her side. The funeral was small. Mom organized it. I helped. We debated whether to call Bethany. She has the right to know, Mom said. She also has the right to stay away, I countered. She's built a life separate from all of this. Calling her back might feel like an obligation she doesn't want. She deserves the choice. So, we called. Bethany listened in silence as I explained. Patricia was gone. The funeral was Thursday. No pressure to attend. I'll be there, she said quietly. I'll be there. She flew in with Sierra. They stayed at my apartment. Bethany was quiet, processing. The morning of the funeral, she knocked on my door at 5 a.m. Can't sleep, she said. Can we talk? We sat in my living room with coffee as the sun rose. I never got to tell her, Bethany said, that I understood, that I didn't blame her anymore, that I'd forgiven her. She knew. The work you did together on the books, the conversations you'd been having, she knew. But I never said the words. I forgive you. I was waiting for the perfect moment, the right time, and now there's no time left. Forgiveness isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's lived. You showed her forgiveness by working with her, by including her in your life again, by letting her be part of your story instead of erasing her. I wanted her at the wedding. I was planning to invite her to the next one. Sierra and I are renewing our vows next year for our 5-year anniversary. I was going to make it a whole thing. Patricia and Mom both there. A real family moment. She would have loved that. But she'll never know. She died thinking I couldn't forgive her. She died knowing you were trying. That's more than she gave herself permission to hope for. Bethany cried. I held her. Sierra joined us, wrapping us both in her arms. Family is so complicated, Bethany said through tears. I spent 30 years hating her, 5 years learning to understand her, and just when I was ready to fully love her, she's gone. That's life, Sierra said softly. We don't get to choose the timing. We just get to choose how we respond. The funeral was beautiful. Mom gave the eulogy, talked about Patricia's courage, her survival, her decision to finally tell the truth after 40 years of silence. My sister, Mom said, and the word finally felt right. My sister was a survivor. She lived through things that would have destroyed most people. And she not only survived, she thrived. She wrote a best-selling book. She helped countless victims find their voice. She learned to love again. She built a good life from terrible circumstances. She paused, looked at Bethany in the front row, and she gave us the gift of her daughter, who's gone on to do remarkable things, to write her own book, to build her own family, to break the cycle of trauma that could have destroyed her. Patricia's legacy isn't just survival, it's transformation. After the service, we gathered at Mom's house. Small reception, people sharing memories. Bethany stood in the backyard staring at nothing. I joined her. You okay? No, but I will be. What are you thinking about? About how much time we wasted. About how different things could have been if Grandma had just told the truth from the beginning. If Frank had faced consequences. If Patricia had gotten help sooner. You can't rewrite the past. I know, but I can learn from it. Make sure my kids, if Sierra and I decide to have kids, never grow up with secrets eating them alive. Make sure they know honesty is more important than image. That truth is more valuable than comfort. You'll be a good mother. I'll try to be. That's all anyone can do. We stood in silence, watching the sunset. Thank you, Bethany said suddenly. For what? For being honest with me. 3 years ago, when you showed me those birth certificates and paternity tests, you could have protected me from the truth. Let me stay ignorant. But you didn't. You trusted me with the hard stuff. And it sucked. God, it sucked. But it also freed me. Grandma wanted the truth out. Yeah, well, Grandma was a complicated woman who made terrible choices for understandable reasons. But in the end, she did one thing right. She made sure we all knew. Made sure the lies died with her. She'd probably be pissed that we turned her secrets into a foundation and 2 best-selling books. Bethany laughed. Good. Let her ghost be pissed. We're done protecting dead people's reputations. 15 years after the will reading, Mom died. Natural causes. She was 75, surrounded by family. I held her hand as she passed. Dad on one side, Bethany on the other. Thank you, Mom whispered at the end, for forcing the truth out, for making us face it, for not letting Frank and Rose's lies destroy another generation. Rest easy, I told her. We've got this now. She smiled, closed her eyes, and went peacefully. The funeral was huge. Mom had touched a lot of lives. The foundation, the therapy groups, the advocacy work. Bethany gave the eulogy this time. My aunt, she said. Caroline Patterson was many things. A mother, a wife, an advocate, a survivor of a different kind than Patricia. She survived the trauma of learning that her father was a monster, that her family was built on lies, that her niece was actually her half-sister. She could have crumbled, could have denied it, could have blamed Patricia or me or anyone else. She paused, looked at me. Instead, she chose truth, chose healing, chose to build something better from the ashes of what came before. She helped create the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths. She co-authored a book about surviving family secrets. She spent 15 years making sure other people didn't have to suffer in silence the way her family did. Her voice caught. She wasn't perfect, none of us are, but she was brave and honest and determined to break cycles that had poisoned our family for generations. That's her legacy. Not the pain she endured, but the healing she chose. That's what I'll remember. That's what I hope we all remember. After the funeral, Bethany and I sat on Mom's porch, the house Dad lived in now, the house that would eventually be sold, the last physical connection to our shared history. We're the only ones left, Bethany said, of the whole mess, just you and me, and Dad. Dad's great, but he wasn't in the eye of the storm, not like us. True. What happens now? Do we stay in touch? Or do we drift apart like everyone else in this family did? What do you want to happen? She thought about that. I want to keep building, keep being honest, keep breaking the cycles. I want my kids, we decided, Sierra and I are adopting, To know their family history. All of it. The good and the terrible. So they understand where they come from. That's brave. It's necessary. No more secrets. No more lies. No more protecting people from uncomfortable truths. Grandma would hate that. Grandma's dead. This isn't about her anymore. It's about us. About doing better. We sat in silence as the sun set. I'm glad you told me, Bethany said finally. 3 years ago, even though it destroyed me. Even though I ran away. Even though it took years to process. I'm glad I know the truth. Me too. Do you think we're broken, fundamentally? Because of what Frank did? Because of the lies? I think we're scarred. But scars are evidence of survival, of healing. We're not broken. We're different than we would have been. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that's more than okay. Maybe that's actually better. How do you figure? Because we know things most people don't. We understand that families are complicated, that love isn't simple, that truth matters more than comfort. That's valuable knowledge. Hard-won knowledge. You sound like Sierra. Sierra's very wise. I married well. We laughed. The kind of laugh that comes after years of crying. After pain transforms into something that isn't quite joy but isn't suffering either. Something new, something honest, something that might even be called hope. 20 years after the will reading, I stood in the same law office where this all began. Different lawyer, different purpose, but same room. I'd called Bethany, asked her to come, told her it was important. She flew in from Denver, still living there, still happy. 2 kids now, adopted siblings from foster care, both thriving. What's this about? She asked as we waited. You'll see. The lawyer entered. Young woman, professional, kind eyes. Thank you for coming, she said. I'm handling your grandmother Rose Patterson's trust. There's a time release clause that activates 20 years after her death. What kind of clause? Bethany asked. The lawyer pulled out a sealed envelope, Grandma's handwriting on the front. To be opened 20 years after my passing. To be shared with my granddaughters only after they've had time to process the truth. After they've built lives separate from the lies. After they've proven they can survive knowledge that would have destroyed me. She handed me the envelope. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter and another key. My dear girls, if you're reading this, 20 years have passed. I'm long dead. You've had time to hate me, to understand me, maybe even to forgive me, though I don't deserve it. The key is to another safety deposit box, one I set up separate from everything else. Inside, you'll find money, a lot of it. Investments I made starting in 1985, earmarked specifically for you two. Money Frank never knew about. Money I made with what he gave Patricia as guilt payments. Money that's grown over 40 years into something substantial. It's yours, both of yours. Equal shares. Not inheritance, not guilt money, payment for what you endured because of my cowardice. Because I chose silence over truth. Because I let Frank's actions poison your childhoods. Use it however you want. Fund the foundation. Start new projects. Burn it all and never think of me again. Whatever helps you heal. I loved you both, even when I didn't show it. Even when I made terrible choices. Even when I prioritized the wrong things. I loved you and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Break the cycles. Tell the truth. Build something better. You've already started. Keep going. With love and regret. Rose. The lawyer cleared her throat. The amount in the account is $3.7 million, split between you, plus another $1 million designated specifically for the Rose Patterson Foundation. Bethany and I stared at each other. She was saving for us? Bethany whispered. For 40 years. Apparently, I said. After everything she did, everything she hid, she was still trying to make it right? In her own complicated way, yes. Bethany laughed, a sound caught between humor and hysteria. This family, God, this family. We could refuse it, I suggested. Tell them to donate everything to charity. No, Bethany's voice was firm. No, we take it. We use it. We build something amazing with it. We prove that good things can come from terrible origins. That healing is possible even when the wound goes generations deep. What did you have in mind? Expand the foundation. Add programs for children of abuse survivors. For people learning to parent after trauma. For families trying to rebuild after secrets destroy them. We create something that would make Grandma proud and piss her off simultaneously. Something honest and messy and real. I smiled. I like that plan. We spent the next hour with the lawyer, signing papers, making arrangements. Walking out of that office with resources to change lives. To break cycles, to turn family trauma into family healing. Outside, the sun was setting. 20 years of processing, 20 years of growth, 20 years of learning to be honest. Want to get dinner? Bethany asked. Celebrate our dead grandmother's complicated attempt at redemption? Absolutely. And afterward, we start planning. Figure out how to use this money to help people. To make sure no more children grow up like we did. Deal. We walked down the street together. Cousins, half-sisters, survivors, friends. 2 women who'd survived 40 years of family lies and came out the other side determined to tell the truth. 2 women who'd taken pain and trauma and transformed it into purpose. 2 women who'd proven that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Honestly. Fully. That night, we called our families. Bethany's wife and kids. My partner. Dad. We got a surprise inheritance from Grandma, we told them. Time released. 20 years after her death. How much? Dad asked. Enough to change lives, I said. Enough to prove that even complicated, cowardly people can sometimes do one good thing, Bethany added. What will you do with it? Build something better. Something honest. Something that makes sure the cycles we broke stay broken. Your grandmother would be proud, Dad said. Our grandmother would be conflicted, Bethany corrected. And that's okay. We're done seeking approval from dead people. We're building this for the living. 25 years after the will reading, the Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths had helped over 10,000 families. We'd expanded to 15 states. offered therapy, legal support, housing assistance, job training, whatever people needed to break free from cycles of abuse and secrecy. Bethany ran the family programs. I managed the overall operations. Together, we'd turned our family trauma into our life's work. One day, a young woman walked into our office, 22 years old, nervous, holding a baby. "I need help," she said. My grandfather, I don't even know how to say it." "Take your time," Bethany said gently. "Whatever you need to tell us, we've heard it before." The woman took a breath, told her story, history repeating, trauma echoing through generations. By the end, she was crying. "I don't know what to do. I can't go to my family. They won't believe me. They'll protect him like they always do." "We believe you," I said, "and we're going to help you." We spent the next hour connecting her with resources, legal aid, therapy, safe housing, childcare support, everything she needed to break free. As she left, she turned back. "Why are you doing this? Why do you care so much?" Bethany and I looked at each other. "Because it happened to our family too," Bethany said, "and no one helped. No one believed. No one intervened. We don't want anyone else to go through what we did." The woman nodded. "Thank you. Thank you for understanding, for caring, for being here." After she left, Bethany sat at her desk, staring at the wall. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just thinking about how different my life could have been if someone had helped Patricia, if someone had believed her, if she'd had resources and support instead of silence and shame. We can't change the past. No, but we can change the present, and maybe the future. One person at a time. That's what we're doing. I know, and it matters. Every single person we help, it matters. They're not just statistics. They're real people with real trauma, trying to break real cycles. Like we did. Like we're still doing. Yeah, like we're still doing." We sat in silence for a moment, then Bethany smiled. "You know what? I think Grandma would actually be proud. Not of the honesty part. She'd hate that. But of the helping people part. She'd approve of that. Maybe. In her complicated way. Everything about our family is complicated, but I think we're finally making it beautiful too. Complicated and beautiful. That's not a bad legacy. It's a hell of a lot better than secrets and lies. Amen to that." 30 years after the will reading, I'm old, 65, retired from nursing, still running the foundation part-time. Bethany's 64, still writing, still helping people, still married to Sierra, surrounded by grandchildren now. We meet monthly for coffee. Same coffee shop where I first told her the truth 3 decades ago. "Do you ever regret it?" she asks one day. "Telling me? Opening that Pandora's box?" Never. "Do you regret knowing?" Some days. The hard days when I think about what my life could have been if I didn't know, if I'd stayed ignorant and angry but protected from the full truth. And most days I'm grateful. Because knowing freed me, let me understand why things were the way they were. Let me stop blaming myself for my mother's coldness. Let me build a life based on truth instead of lies. That was the point. That's what Grandma wanted, even if she did it badly. She did everything badly, but her heart was in the right place. Kind of. Eventually. We laugh. It's become our thing. Laughing at the absurdity of our family history. Finding humor in the darkness. "Your kids asked me about Grandma Rose yesterday," Bethany says. "The oldest one. Doing a family tree project. She wanted to know if Grandma was a good person or a bad person. What did you tell her?" "That she was a complicated person who made terrible choices for understandable reasons. That she caused harm but also tried to make amends. That people aren't just good or bad. They're both. They're human." Smart answer. I'm a smart woman, with a good therapist. And decades of processing trauma. Speaking of which, I got a call last week. A producer wants to make a documentary about the foundation, about our family story, about how we turned trauma into purpose. Are we doing it? I don't know. What do you think? Bethany considers. I think if it helps more people, we do it. If it's just exploitation, we don't. We tell the producer to focus on the work, the people we've helped, the cycles we've broken, not just the drama of grandfather-father incest. Agreed. But we do it honestly. We don't sugarcoat. We don't make Grandma a hero or Frank a cartoon villain. We tell the messy truth, the complicated, uncomfortable, real truth. The Rose Patterson Foundation for Complicated Truths strikes again. Damn right. We sit in comfortable silence, watching people come and go, living their lives, most of them carrying secrets they haven't told anyone, most of them nursing wounds they've never named. I hope we've helped, Bethany says quietly. I hope somewhere out there families are being honest with each other because we were honest first. I hope kids are growing up without the weight of secrets we carried. I hope we've actually made a difference. We have. 10,000 families. Hundreds of thousands of individuals. We've made a difference. Good. Then it was all worth it. The pain, the trauma, the years of anger and confusion. If it led to this, to helping people, then it was worth it. Would you do it differently? If you could go back? Not a chance. I'd live it all exactly the same. Because it made me who I am. And I kind of like who I am now. Me too. I like who you are too. Sentimental. Not like you. I'm old. I'm allowed to be sentimental. Fair enough. We finish our coffee, hug goodbye, promise to do this again next month. As I drive home, I think about Grandma Rose, about her final letter, about how she set everything in motion with those cameras and that safety deposit box and that time-release trust, about how even cowardly people can do brave things, even damaged people can create healing, even families built on lies can transform into families built on truth. I think about Grandpa Frank, about how one person's actions can poison generations, about how important it is to confront evil even when it wears a familiar face. I think about Patricia, about her courage to finally speak, about her book that helped thousands, about her life that proved survival is possible. I think about Mom, about her choice to believe Patricia, to process impossible information, to build something better instead of defending something broken. I think about Bethany, about her journey from angry theft to purposeful healing, about how she turned her pain into power, how she broke every cycle that tried to break her. And I think about me, about my Tuesday night visits, about the key that unlocked 40 years of secrets, about the choice to tell the truth even when it would have been easier to lie. We did it. Despite everything, despite Frank and Rose and generations of silence, we did it. We told the truth. We broke the cycles. We built something better. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.